Chapter 313. I probably won't be able to take part in tomorrow's actual combat training. Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps, help me arrange Ni Ruopan and Tong Ziqing in the same team, and help me tell them that this is my request. These two. Xiao Jin didn't understand the reason why Yiqing Luo made such an arrangement. Ni Ruopan and Tong Ziqing were obviously at loggerheads with each other. Moreover, because of Yiqing Luo's reason, they probably hated each other even more. If these two were to be arranged in the same team, based on Tong Ziqing's usual performance, she would be able to obtain a good result in the actual combat training. But Ni Ruopan's aptitude? That was hard to say. By then, if Tong Ziqing didn't obtain the final victory, she would definitely blame Ni Ruopan for dragging her down. The conflict between these two would intensify. It was very likely to strike Ni Ruopan's self-esteem, which she had painstakingly built up. Don't belittle Ni Ruopan. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Those who don't give up on themselves are the strongest. If she gives up on herself this time, then we don't need to waste time on her in future. Saying that, Yiqing Luo had already started walking out of the Devil class's courtyard. At the entrance, there were two faculty council members, with an impatient look on their faces. They felt that even getting half a step closer to the Devil class would lower their status. Yiqing Luo happened to know one of the faculty council members. Wasn't that the beauty who held her into the faculty council together with Lu Shuiyu without any explanation, the one who was addressed as Lu Fourth Miss by the other faculty council members? At that time when Lu Shuiyu discovered Wind who was hiding in the dark, she ordered this Lu Fourth Miss to lure Wind away. After that, she didn't know who won between her and Wind. But to be able to exchange moves with Wind, and successfully restrain him. From this, it could be seen that this Lu Fourth Miss ability wasn't weak. Looks like the Academy made the right choice in arranging you into the waste class. It's only been half a month and you've already blended into a ball with that bunch of waste. Lu Fourth Miss, Lu Shuiyu's half-sister Lu Shuilan, sneered in disdain. The lady beside her immediately echoed, it can be seen that student Yi is destined to be a waste. Birds of a feather flock together, so waste naturally attracts waste. Lu Shuilan's line of sight shifted to the Devil class, to Xiao Jin who was standing on a withered yellow branch, as she covered her mouth and laughed softly. Then could it be that she found a lover in the trash class? TSK. Trash and trash, a perfect match. Lu Shuilan's heart was filled with ridicule and disdain. Looking at Xiao Jin's unprepossessing face, he looked like a good-for-nothing, someone who would not be able to accomplish great things. Seeing Yiqing Luo being brought away by them, he actually stood there watching with his eyes wide open. Trash was trash. She really didn't know why her elder sister had suffered losses in front of this useless woman time and time again. Do the people from the faculty council like to talk glibly? Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as she glanced at them with a smile which didn't look like a smile. If you call me trash again, be careful that I'll slap you to death with one slap. Another female classmate was stunned by Yiqing Luo's gaze, but the minute she thought that this was her chance to perform well, as long as she performed well, to make Lu Shuilan think highly of her, then she would be able to get a higher position. The female student immediately stood in front of Lu Shuilan. Don't you dare. With a pa sound, Yiqing Luo directly threw a slap over. I even dare to hit your vice president, do you think I dare or not? Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a cold smile, as she rubbed her slightly burning palm. Waste? You can't even beat me, what should you be called? To stop a woman like Lu Shuilan, there was only one way to settle things once and for all. Chapter 314. Lu Shuilan's mocking smile froze on her face, she clenched her sleeves tightly and spat fiercely, so what if you're powerful, you're still a waste class student. After that, Lu Shuilan bit her lower lip and gave that female student another slap. Waste. Useless thing. Although Yiqing Luo's slap didn't land on her face, it was no different from slapping her face. The female student felt wronged and suffered 2 consecutive slaps, but she didn't dare to make a sound. She could only cover her face resentfully and followed behind Lu Xuelan. Yiqing Luo sneered and picked her ears. Finally, it was quiet. The simple and crude method was the most effective. The private fight, as it involved the faculty council's vice president, was handed over to the elder quarters to handle. She followed Lu Xuelan and the female student all the way to the elder quarters. Along the way, they met quite a number of students who greeted Lu Xuelan respectfully and looked at Yiqing Luo strangely. One by one, they were pointing and gossiping about Yiqing Luo, who had been quiet for half a month. What did she do that made the faculty council come looking for her? At this moment, standing on the tall building, a young man dressed in a black long robe squinted his cold eyes slightly, staring at the calm Yiqing Luo below. "Master, it's Miss Yi." A man dressed as an attendant bowed and said respectfully. "Those 2 bottles of medicine, have you sent them over?" The young man's indifferent eyes did not move away from Yiqing Luo. The moment he opened his mouth, his voice was as cold as a frost. The attendant nodded. "Yes, I personally passed it to her." "Why didn't she take it?" The young man's expressionless face frowned slightly. That pair of cold and indifferent eyes was suffused with a trace of anger. The attendant stiffened and lowered his head. "I don't know, perhaps. Miss Ye's vigilance is strong. Before knowing who you are, she didn't dare to take the medicine." "Don't know?" The young man's eyes were as calm as still water, eerily cold, strong anger rolling in his eyes. "Don't know, I'd like to see if she knows who I am." The attendant was forced to take a few steps back by that strong aura. This was the first time he saw his usually calm master revealing such an expression. "Because of that girl named Yiqing Luo." The gaze the follower gave Yiqing Luo was filled with a deeper meaning. "Find out why the faculty council took her away." The young man retracted his gaze and hid the anger in his eyes, returning to his original expressionless face. Elders Department. Yiqing Luo was brought to the main hall and Lu Xueyu was already seated on a soft chair by the side, drinking tea and discussing something with Elder Yunxiang. On seeing Yiqing Luo's arrival, the smiles on their faces froze as they stopped their conversation. How was this someone who had broken the rules of the academy and had to be punished with a demerit? It was like drinking tea and talking about life. "Student Yi, sit." Elder Yunxiang stroked his white beard, his eyes curved into crescents as he smiled. Yiqing Luo walked straight to Lu Xueyu's side and sat down as an attendant immediately served hot tea. "Student Yi, I'm sure you're aware of the academy's rules. During the academy period, students are not allowed to fight in private." Elder Yunxiang's face was amiable as he spoke earnestly. "The academy sensed that you had a fluctuation of profound qi in the dormitory earlier. Do you have anything to say to me?" In a few words, he pushed all the blame onto Yiqing Luo. Chapter 315. Yiqing Luo leaned lazily on the soft chair as she squinted her eyes at Lu Xueyu. The corner of her mouth curled up into a faintly discernible cold arc as she chuckled. Just one look and Lu Xueyu felt a chill down her spine. The hand which was holding the teacup trembled and almost spilled the tea. The smile on Yiqing Luo's lips was cold, but it didn't lose its charm. It revealed an eerie cold glint which made one shudder. Lu Xueyu only felt that her neck seemed to be entangled by a cold poisonous snake and her tensed-up heart was almost suffocating. Such a strong aura was so majestic that Lu Xueyu couldn't suppress it at all. This treacherous atmosphere was in a deadlock. Elder Yunxiang's words, "Don't tell me that I was bored alone in the dormitory and released my profound qi to hit myself." Yiqing Luo's soft and leisurely voice rang out. Her vision seemed to have inadvertently swept past the curtains of the inner hall, and when she touched something, a sly smile flashed past her eyes. Elder Yunxiang's words were blocked. His face under his white beard darkened a little. He stood up and placed his hands behind his back as he walked slowly to Yiqing Luo. There was still a smile on his face, and he had a kind and benevolent look on his face. However, the threatening look in his eyes was extremely strong. Student Yi is a smart person. This is only a small matter. If Student Yi cooperates with the Elder Quarters investigation, I will naturally give you a lighter sentence. Violating the Academy's rules is just a small matter in Elder Yunxiang's eyes. Yiqing Luo pretended to be astonished as she widened her eyes and couldn't help but raised her voice. A few days ago, Vice President kept saying that if one violates the Academy's rules, one should leave the Academy. Although this was the Elder Quarters and everyone was the Elder's man. But Yiqing Luo's shout would inevitably be heard by others. If this was spread out, the Elder Quarters' reputation would be tainted. Lu Shuiyu listened by the side as anger surfaced faintly on her cold face. Then she heard Yiqing Luo mention that the last time she found trouble with her, she insisted on violating the Academy's rules, and it was actually used by Yiqing Luo to slap her face. Her heart was filled with anger and annoyance, and when she thought of Yiqing Jian who had instigated her previously, she hated her even more. Since I'm here at the Elders' quarters today, there are some things that I should talk to the Elders about. Yiqing Luo stood up abruptly, her petite figure but her aura wasn't small at all. This stance made Elder Yunxiang, who was originally standing in front of Yiqing Luo to threaten her, take a few steps back. He saw Yiqing Luo raising her head up high as she spoke in a serious manner. Vice President, as a member of the Faculty Council, knowingly broke the law and even laid hands on her dormitory roommate. If it wasn't for the fact that I took the risk of being recorded as a demerit and blocked for my roommate, I'm afraid today the Academy would not only have broken the Academy's rules, but a life would have been lost. You're talking nonsense. Lu Shuiyu couldn't take it anymore. She slammed the table and stood up. I'm spouting nonsense? Isn't it all about evidence? Material evidence is something that can sense your xian qi. It can sense the fluctuation of your xian qi. As for the witness, it's that roommate who was almost seriously injured by you. Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders and said word by word, I used my profound qi, I admit it. But it wasn't a private brawl. She paused for a moment and her leisurely voice had a hint of a smile. If I had a brawl, I'm afraid Vice President wouldn't be able to sit here anymore. Provocation. This was simply a naked provocation. Lu Shuiyu's face was burning hot as the anger in her chest surged to her head, feeling that her lungs were about to explode. Chapter 316. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Why? Do you want to make a move in front of Elder Yunxiang? Just as she finished her words, Lu Shuiyu's raised hand was locked by Elder Yunxiang. Vice President. Elder Yunxiang used a little strength and pressed Lu Shuiyu back to the chair. Students should get along peacefully. At this moment, if Elder Yunxiang wanted to help Lu Shuiyu to clear her name, it would be impossible. Yiqing Luo had this idea. From the previous allocation of classes, Yiqing Luo could tell that Elder Yunxiang should be standing on the Faculty Council's side. She was allocated to the Devil class and it was definitely related to Elder Yunxiang. This time, Elder Yunxiang still wanted to use this to threaten her to take on this matter alone. If it was other students, they might have succumbed under the prestige of the Elder and Faculty Council. But Yiqing Luo was not others. She didn't put Lu Shuiyu in her eyes at all. Yiqing Luo had deduced that the most serious consequence of this matter was to record a demerit. But to Lu Shuiyu, it wasn't just a demerit issue. Tomorrow's Heavenly Training Forest actual combat training was the time for her to showcase her skills as the Faculty Council's Vice President. If the Faculty Council could get the top 3, it would definitely raise the Faculty Council's prestige. Once Lu Shuiyu was recorded, she would not be able to participate in the actual combat training tomorrow. She would also lose the chance to bring glory to Si Mu Yan. If it was serious, it might even cause Si Mu Yan's disgust and be demoted. Such a good opportunity, how could Yiqing Luo give it up? Trying to clear Lu Shuiyu's name? Yiqing Luo deliberately provoked Lu Shuiyu to lose control in front of Elder Yunxiang and unleashed her profound qi in an attempt to make a move on her. Even if Lu Shuiyu's palm strike was stopped by Elder Yunxiang, it was absolutely impossible to draw a clear line between them. Student Yi. After Elder Yunxiang appeased Lu Shuiyu, he turned his head and looked at Yiqing Luo. Between his brows, there was a layer of faint hostility. You'd better think carefully. If the announcement is made, it will be a demerit and your status in the academy will be ruined. Yiqing Luo heard the threat in Elder Yunxiang's words, but she didn't take it to heart. When the elder arranged me into the devil class, didn't he already decide to destroy me? Yiqing Luo sneered lightly as she raised her eyes in ridicule, looking straight at Elder Yunxiang's threatening gaze. Elder Yunxiang's face darkened and he squinted his sinister eyes. I do not have the right to assign classes. If Student Yi has any questions about the assignment, you can look for the dean. Moreover, the assignment of classes and this matter are two different things. Yiqing Luo covered her mouth as she laughed softly. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw that the figure was still there behind the curtain of the inner hall. The smile in his eyes deepened. Elder Yunxiang is too biased. Elder Yunxiang snorted coldly. All in all, it's my duty as a student. I've already told you everything that needs to be said. If Elder Yunxiang insists on making me the scapegoat, I advise you to give up on this idea. Yiqing Luo finished her words and stood up, preparing to leave. Elder Yunxiang shouted angrily, "Who allowed you to leave? A student who has violated the academy's regulations and still wants to go against your superiors, do you really think the elder quarters exists in name only?" Four attendants scurried into the hall and blocked Yiqing Luo. "Let her leave." Suddenly, a dignified voice was heard from the inner hall. The inner hall's curtain was lifted by a hand and an elderly man dressed in the elder's attire was seen strolling in. Chapter 317. When Elder Yunxiang saw the old man, he was terrified. He lowered his head and cupped his fists. "Great Elder! Great Elder!" Yiqing Luo had seen in the booklet that there were a total of 15 elders in the elder quarters. However, there were only 7 who held power in the academy. Elder Yunxiang was ranked second. Great Elder Yunduan was not here, so Yunxiang was the leader. As for the other elders, they either went to the other super monasteries to help out or to travel around to promote the academy. As for this first elder, he was one of the more mysterious ones among the elders. Yiqing Luo initially sensed that there was someone behind the curtain, but she didn't expect that it would be Elder Yunduan behind the curtain. At this point, I have already investigated clearly. Student Yi did not do anything wrong. Elder Yunduan's line of sight shifted from Yiqing Luo to Lu Shuiyu. Everything that happened just now, I saw it clearly from behind the curtains. Lu Shuiyu's complexion turned pale as she knelt in front of Elder Yunduan. She had been in the academy for 5 years, so she knew Yunduan's identity. Even if it was Yunxiang, in front of the great elder, he had to show some respect. If Elder Yunduan had been behind the curtains all along, then, earlier when she was infuriated and tried to hit Yiqing Luo but was stopped by Yunxiang, he had seen everything clearly? To the extent that Elder Yunxiang's threat towards Yiqing Luo was heard clearly. The more she thought about it, the more Lu Shuiyu broke out in cold sweat. In the academy, she had always been at the top, surrounded by the stars. Other than her own methods and abilities, it was also because of her identity as the vice president and Yunxiang's support. But, she didn't understand Elder Yunduan, and from the looks of it, Yunduan was standing on Yiqing Luo's side. As the vice president of the faculty council, you knowingly broke the law and even colluded with the elder council in an attempt to cover up your mistakes and push the blame onto innocent students. You are a disgrace to the academy. Elder Yunduan coldly snorted, his gaze full of dignity. From now on, student Lu Shuiyu will temporarily stop all of her duties as vice president, and student Lu Shuilan will take over. Student Lu Shuiyu will be given a major demerit, and the entire academy will announce this as a warning to others. When Lu Shuiyu received the news that she would be suspended from her position as vice president, she froze on the ground with her eyes wide open. She was usually cold and aloof, but now she looked battered and exhausted. To Lu Shuiyu, recording a demerit or reporting it to the police was not important. Most importantly, she was suspended from her duties. She did not have the right to step into the faculty council, which meant that she could not see Yen Mu. Great Elder. Great Elder, I know I'm wrong. I'm willing to record demerits, no matter how many demerits I have, as long as you don't suspend me from my duties. Even if I'm not the vice president, I can still be a small member of the faculty council. Yun Duan's face was cold as he glanced at Lu Shuiyu on the ground. He didn't have the slightest bit of tenderness for the fairer sex. Men, take Lu Shuiyu away and make an announcement to the entire academy. Before Lu Shuiyu could resist, several attendants had already dragged Lu Shuiyu out of the elder quarters. Then, Yun Duan glanced at Yun Xiang coldly. Yun Xiang's body stiffened. He lowered his head and did not dare to make a sound. He had covered up for Lu Shuiyu and threatened a student. Even if he was caught red-handed by the first elder, there was nothing he could say. However, while Yun Xiang was on tenterhooks, Yun Duan did not continue to announce his punishment, but looked towards Yiqing Luo. Student Yi, this matter is due to the negligence of the elder quarters, and almost caused Student Yi to be wronged. I represent the elder quarters to apologize to Student Yi. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes flashed a glimmer of light, her pink lips slightly hooked up. With such a fair and strict elder like the first elder, I can rest assured. Chapter 318. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly as she heard the cautiousness in Yun Duan's tone. Was Yun Duan asking for her opinion? It should be impossible. Yiqing Luo threw this thought to the back of her head and nodded slightly. I will listen to the great elder's arrangements. Yun Duan stroked his white beard and glanced sideways at Yun Xiang, who was standing stiffly at the side with a hint of displeasure in his eyes. Student Yi, you must be frightened. Go back and rest first, the elder quarters will take action to apologize to you another day. Yiqing Luo was a tactful person. As the great elder of the elder quarters, Yun Duan would naturally not use his own people as an example. And Lu Shuiyu had become the tool that Yun Duan used to block the knife for Yun Xiang. Yun Duan punished Lu Shuiyu and asked if Yiqing Luo was satisfied. This was a chance for Yiqing Luo to step down. Yiqing Luo was not one to take advantage of others, so she bowed slightly to Yun Duan and immediately left the hall. As soon as she stepped out of the hall, her ears twitched and she heard Yun Duan's voice, "Don't just stand there and reflect on your actions. You'll stay in Yunxiang courtyard for the next few days and reflect on your mistakes. You'll be able to give Student Yi an explanation." Great Elder. She is just a freshman. She is indeed just a freshman. Yun Duan interrupted Yun Xiang's words, but you cannot afford to offend this freshman. Stay away from her and don't involve the elder quarters. If it happens again, even I will not be able to protect you. I have investigated her background, other than knowing the Overlord, there is nothing special. Yun Xiang could hear the seriousness in Yun Duan's tone and his tone became dignified. What's more, this freshman is someone that the higher-ups are keeping a close eye on. Before he could finish his words, he was stopped by Yun Duan. Yiqing Luo could not stop her footsteps as she was surrounded by attendants. As she gradually left the elder quarters, no matter how sensitive her ears were, Yun Duan's voice became softer and softer. She could vaguely hear a few words, other than the Overlord, she has another backing. After that, she could not hear anything else. Yiqing Luo caught hold of a crucial name. She vaguely heard the Overlord An. Master Chu. Young Master Chu. Yiqing Luo subconsciously thought of the attendant who came to deliver the pills that day. The person he mentioned was also Master Zhu. Could it be that, the reason why Yun Duan appeared, stood on her side unconditionally, and punished Lu Shuiyu without a second word, was because of that young Master Chu? Young Master Zhu, who could it be? Yiqing Luo was extremely puzzled. She dug out all the memories in her mind but still couldn't find any man with the surname Chu. When he returned to the dormitory, Lu Xiaoyu was anxiously pacing back and forth in the hall. On seeing Yi Qing Luo's return, he immediately pounced forward and hugged her. "You're finally back. I heard that you were brought to the elders' quarters by the faculty council and I anxiously went to look for Master Guiyu. But after searching for so many places, I still couldn't find Master Guiyu. I was so anxious." Yi Qing Luo patted Lu Xiaoyu's back gently and comforted her with a few words. Then, he explained the appearance of Cloudy Cloud, as well as Cloudy Cloud's punishment for Lu Xiaoyu. As Lu Xiaoyu listened, her eyes widened and her mouth opened wide in disbelief. "You're saying that Lu Xiaoyu has been stripped of her position as vice president?" Seeing Yi Qing Luo nodding, Lu Xiaoyu couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Ha ha ha, let's see if she still has the capital to be arrogant in the future. Wasn't Lu Xiaoyu arrogant because of her position as vice president?" Chapter 319. Yi Qing Luo smiled and reached out to rub Lu Xiaoyu's head. "Don't put your mind on her for the time being. Train and learn well. Tomorrow is the actual combat training for the high profound class. It should be your intermediate profound class's turn in another half a month. Strive to achieve a good result by then." The two of them chatted for a while and Yi Qing Luo returned to her room, ready to have a good rest and conserve her energy. Yun Duan only punished Lu Xiaoyu and she got out unscathed. She would be able to participate in the actual combat training tomorrow. Stretching her waist as she walked into the room, the sandalwood scent made Yi Qing Luo's body stiffen. She immediately closed the door. The uniform that she had changed out of was washed clean once again and hung on the wooden rack. And on her bed, lay a tall man in purple. Sleeping Beauty. These three words popped out in Yi Qing Luo's mind as her eyes overflowed with a sweet smile. Dmo Xian's eyes were closed as if he was in deep sleep. He didn't even notice Yi Qing Luo's approach. In his deep sleep, his thick eyelashes cast a beautiful arc under his eyelids, making that peerless face look extremely gentle, making one couldn't help but want to get close to him. In fact, Yi Qing Luo really followed her heart's desire and did so. She quietly lay on the side of the bed, staring at Dmo Xian's sleeping face, stretched out her slender fingers and drew his outline in the air. A man with an outstanding appearance, no matter when, would always have a different kind of charm. Just like the current Dmo Xian, who was obviously in deep sleep. But there was a charm that made her heart beat faster and wanted to get close to him. Was he too tired? After washing her clothes, he fell asleep on the bed. Yi Qing Luo's fingers gently touched his face. Her gaze swept across the wrinkles between his brows, across his tall nose, and finally stopped on his pale lips. As if she was bewitched, Yi Qing Luo's body slowly leaned forward and pressed her lips on Dmo Xian's lips. The man's elegant sandalwood scent drowned her in an instant. Little Luo, actually sneak attacked. A low laugh overflowed from the lips of the two. Not waiting for Yi Qing Luo to hurriedly get up, Dmo Xian's long arm had already wrapped around her waist and with a little force, Yi Qing Luo fell into his arms. "I didn't expect you to be this kind of little Luo, Dmo Xian's long and narrow peach blossom eyes narrowed into a demonic arc as he flipped over and pinned Yi Qing Luo beneath him. His hair scattered softly on Yi Qing Luo's face. The feeling of being caught red-handed after doing something bad made Yi Qing Luo's cheeks flush red. She struggled to avoid Dmo Xian's hand, unwilling to look at his face. Her flat abdomen was attached to a wide and thick palm. Dmo Xian's body was even more attached to Yi Qing Luo. "You dare to do it, but don't dare to admit it?" Dmo Xian caught hold of her hand that was pushing him away, as his scorching breath blew onto her ear. "You did it on purpose. How could there be such a coincidence?" She had just stolen a kiss and Dmo Xian woke up. Dmo Xian laughed lowly and that laughter was extremely bewitching. Like a feather, tickling Yi Qing Luo's heart bit by bit. All right. I did steal a kiss from you, I dare to admit it. Yiqing Luo couldn't take it anymore as she pulled the man's hand. Now can you let go of me? This man, simply couldn't be any more tempting. That peerless face was exactly the type that she liked. The extremely bewitching voice whispered beside her ear and her mind was already in turmoil, unable to control herself. If this carried on, sooner or later she would be eaten up by Dmo Xian's handsome man trap. Chapter 320. Evildoer. Yiqing Luo harumphed in annoyance as she patted the hand on her waist. Dmo Xian's laughter grew louder as his chest pressed against her back. Yiqing Luo could feel the man's chest vibrating from his laughter. Still laughing. Yiqing Luo bit her lips as her elbow knocked backwards. She had just moved when Dmo Xian stretched out his hand and grabbed her slender wrist. Yiqing Luo struggled but was unable to shake him off, so she could only let him grab her. Why are you here? Recently Dmo Xian had been running to the academy a little too frequently. Could it be that the imperial palace didn't need him to handle the affairs? If I don't come, Lil Luo will run away with someone else. Dmo Xian tightened his arms as his tone was obviously filled with displeasure. Looks like there are too many people who admire Lil Luo. Who? Dmo Xian lowered his head as his lips pressed onto Yiqing Luo's fair neck. That Mr. Zhu. His words had just ended when his lips opened and bit onto Yiqing Luo's neck. Hiss. Yiqing Luo cried out in pain. I don't even know him, why did you bite me for? You don't know him, but he will send you medicine and settle the matter with the elder quarters? Dmo Xian loosened his mouth as his warm breath sprayed onto the place where she was bitten. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as she endured the shivering feeling and turned her head over angrily as she stared at Dmo Xian. How would I know? She stretched out her hand as she pinched Dmo Xian's cheek and pinched it fiercely. You have so little confidence in yourself that you don't trust me? Dmo Xian didn't say a word as his large palm covered her head and pressed her into his arms as his arms wrapped around her tightly. Yiqing Luo's entire face was plastered onto his chest. The more she struggled, the tighter the man hugged. Yiqing Luo simply stopped her actions as she buried her head in his arms, listening to his heartbeat. After some time, the man's deep voice floated down from above her head. It's not that I don't trust you, just angry. Why isn't the person who did all these for you, me? Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly softened. A sweet feeling started to spread in her heart. Her lips, which were buried in Dmo Xian's arms, curled into an elegant arc. She stretched out her hand and wrapped it around Dmo Xian's waist. You're the one accompanying me now. That's enough. Yiqing Luo rubbed her face against his chest in satisfaction. The sandalwood scent on his body made her feel at ease. Dmo Xian cupped her face and gently kissed her forehead before pulling her into his embrace once again. Go to sleep. Do your best for tomorrow's actual combat training. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to fall asleep, she could vaguely feel the man's palm gently caressing her face. The man's faint sigh resounded in her ears. I still can't accept it. When he woke up again, it was already the second day of the freshman training. She left Chi at Long Yunzhan's side. Without a professional alarm clock like Chi, she actually slept for such a long time. Just then, Lu Xiaoyu came to wake her up. After Yiqing Luo washed up quickly, the two of them walked together to the freshman training grounds. By the time the training for the freshmen was completed, the instructors called for them to disperse and Yiqing Luo then rushed towards the devil class without stopping. Hyperfound class students entered the training forest early in the morning after the elder opened the entrance. The students from the devil class should have already sneaked in. When Yiqing Luo rushed to the devil class, Baiming Lu was waiting for her in the classroom. Chapter 321. In the past, actual combat training in devil class, it had always been based on individual ability. In other words, all the students who entered the training forest would become their own opponents. Xiao Jin would give each student a wooden token, similar to the Academy's wooden token, which could record the changes of the students' points. On the wooden token, there would be 30 points as the basic points. Killing the magical beasts in the training forest would be able to gain 1 point. The final outcome was to choose the top 3 outstanding students based on the number of points accumulated. And this actual combat training, the cruelest point was, they could snatch the opponent's wooden token. Once the snatch was successful, all the opponent's points would be accumulated into the hands of the person who snatched it successfully. But the person whose wooden token was snatched could snatch the other person's wooden token within 1 hour. If it exceeded 1 hour, they would be forcibly chased out of the training forest. And this time round, Xiao Jin and the rest used Yi Qing Luo's method. All the students were split into groups of 3, each holding a wooden token. Yi Qing Luo listened and nodded her head in interest. 3 people guarding 1 wooden token, snatching another wooden token, this is indeed a good training method. To win, 1 person's hard work was probably not enough. They had to coordinate well and work hard together, to be able to guard their own token and snatch the opponent's token. Tong Ziqing and Ni Rua Pan are in the same group. Their expression seemed a little strange and I'm worried that they would create a ruckus, so I let Xiao Yi be in the same group as them, just in case. Bei Ming Lu added. Yi Qing Luo nodded. Based on Tong Ziqing's character, it would indeed be better with Yan Xiao Yi around. The 2 of them took a long detour, until they reached the rear mountain of the heavenly training forest. Bei Ming Lu felt around a certain mountain wall for some time and the ground started to vibrate. The mountain wall in front of them was split into 2, revealing a long secret passage. This is the passage to the training forest, but usually it is sealed by the enchantment. We can only enter after the elder opens the entrance. Bei Ming Lu took the lead and walked into the secret passage. Yi Qing Luo followed closely behind. She was thinking that after the elder opened the entrance to the training forest, the high profound classes masters and elders would be guarding the entrance. Then how should they sneak into the training forest? She had not expected that there was such a secret passage at the rear mountain of the training forest. I just finished the instructor's freshman training, so I'm late. Are there any groups? As for the heavenly training forest, Yi Qing Luo was eager to give it a try. Bai Ming Lulu spread out her hand and took out a wooden token and handed it over. The class monitor said that you each have a wooden token. Yi Qing Luo received the wooden token and looked at the 30 points displayed above. The corners of her mouth twitched. Not only did he not return her chi, he even wanted her to fight a 1v3. Did Long Yunzhan believe in her strength too much, or was he purposely messing with her? That's right. Master Guo Yu also took the wooden token and entered the training forest, saying that he wanted to nurture his relationship with the students. Bei Ming Lu didn't feel the turbulent waves in Yi Qing Luo's heart as she continued. Teacher Guo Yu? Was there a need to go so far? Old man Guo Yu was also participating in this training, who could beat him? Even Yi Qing Luo had a messy feeling, not to mention how the other students' inner hearts were galloping in all sorts of ways. The other students are moving in groups. Only you and Teacher Guo Yu are moving alone. We heard that the High Profound class will be challenging the High Profound zone, so this time, our zone will be the Middle Profound zone. Chapter 322. As the 2 spoke, they had already entered the Middle Profound area of the training forest. Although it was called a training forest, it was indeed a forest. As far as the eye could see, it was densely packed with lush green trees. This kind of environment was the most suitable for fighting in the wild. There were dense trees everywhere, perfect for hiding and ambushing. It wasn't just a test of one's strength, but also one's reaction and intelligence. The students went in early in the morning. The one with the highest score has already reached 54 points. Bai Ming Lulu analyzed the current situation. You're late by 2 hours and have fallen behind them. You have to catch up as much as possible. Yi Qing Luo nodded thoughtfully. 54. It wasn't too high. No group of students had been eliminated yet. Calculating the time, it was about time for the students to snatch the wooden tokens of the other groups. As long as one group made the first move, the other groups would probably wait for an opportunity to make their move. They all know that you and Teacher Guiyu are acting alone. They don't have the ability to deal with Teacher Guiyu, but they will target you. I know, I will take note. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she walked deeper into the forest. The Middle Profound region's overall strength was roughly around the Mystic Profound 7th grade. The magical beasts wandering around were all mid-level magical beasts, with a small number of high-level magical beasts mixed in. However, no matter what level the magical beast was, killing one would only accumulate 1 point. Because of this, in order to save trouble, the students basically searched for mid-level magical beasts to kill. Along the way, there were many mid-level magical beast corpses on the ground. Less than 50 meters into the depths, he saw a small person curled up under a lush tree. She sat against the tree, hugging her knees and burying her head between them. Her slender body trembled from time to time, as if she was sobbing. Yiqing Luo frowned and walked over quickly. "Ni Ruo Pan, why are you here?" Hearing Yiqing Luo's voice, Ni Ruo Pan immediately raised her head as she opened her misty teary eyes and spoke with a sobbing tone, "Madam Qing Luo." Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings. "Where's Tong Ziqing?" I don't want to be in the same group as her, I want to be in the same group as Madam Qing Luo. Ni Ruo Pan pursed her lips as she raised her hand to wipe her tears fiercely. "Madam Qing Luo, you're also in a team alone, can I join your team?" Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter as she stared at Ni Ruo Pan's skinny little face, as a chilly intent appeared in her eyes. "I thought you already wanted to improve, but I didn't expect you to treat yourself as a weakling deep down in your bones." Yiqing Luo shook off Ni Ruo Pan's hand which was grabbing her. Her exquisite face was covered with a layer of frost. She purposely arranged Ni Rupan and Tong Ziqing to be in the same group because she wanted to familiarize themselves with their characters. One was as petty as dust, while the other thought too highly of himself. If these two extreme people could work together, they would definitely be able to change these shortcomings. However, Ni Rupan was the first to give up. I didn't, Madam Qing Luo, it's not that I don't want to become stronger, but Sister Ziqing feels that I'm a hindrance. Ni Ruo Pan's eyelashes which were wet with tears drooped down as she explained in a submissive manner. She bit her lower lip, trying hard to stop her tears from flowing. "I know that with my strength, it's very difficult in the Middle Profound Zone. I tried my best to cooperate with Big Sister Ziqing, but these are not excuses." Yiqing Luo's voice was chilly as she crossed her arms and spoke calmly. "I never keep weaklings by my side." Chapter 323. She had done everything she could to help Ni Rupan. It was up to Ni Rupan to overcome her inner cowardice and inferiority complex. Madam Qing Luo. Ni Ruo Pan's hand which was flung away froze in midair as he stared blankly at Yiqing Luo. But when she met Yiqing Luo's icy cold gaze, she seemed to have been hit by a stick as she violently shook her head. "Madam Qing Luo, I'm not a weakling. I will also become strong enough to stand by your side. Yiqing Luo had once said that I'm born with a talent, I'm bound to be useful." He had said that he had proven his ability by passing the Heavenly Academy's entrance examination. She was definitely not trash. She wanted to be as confident as Yiqing Luo, so that one day, she would have enough qualifications to become Yiqing Luo's left and right arm. Ni Ruo Pan's eyes lit up with a resolute expression as she lifted her sleeve to wipe the tears off her face. "I'll go back to look for Sister Ziqing now. For Madam Qing Luo, I will definitely work hard. Not for me, but for yourself." Yiqing Luo shook her head slowly. Ni Rupan stared at her and smiled through her tears. After that, she turned around and ran towards the dense forest ahead. Yiqing Luo stared at her back as she sighed helplessly. Just as he was about to start walking in another direction, just as he turned to the side, a fierce whirlwind assaulted him. The shadows of the trees were mottled, making an ear-piercing rustling sound. Yiqing Luo reacted in time, and with a light tap of her toes, she swiftly retreated backwards. The dense trees in front of him swayed, and the light that blocked the sunlight flickered. Bang! A loud sound reverberated as that whirlwind blasted onto the place where Yiqing Luo was standing earlier, exploding out a black hole. Madame Qing Luo. Hearing the noise, Xiaofan turned around and saw that Yiqing Luo had been ambushed. The shadows of the trees swayed and 3 figures appeared in front of Yiqing Luo. Student Yi. A smile hung on Dan Baishi's face. I've always remembered the battle with you when we first entered the academy. Today is a rare opportunity. Why don't we use the wooden token as a wager and have a match? These 3 people, weren't they 3 of the 8 people who ambushed Yiqing Luo in the outer courtyard when she just joined the devil class? Dan Baishi seemed to have been knocked unconscious by her that day. Was he here to seek revenge? Yiqing Luo's eyes rose slightly as she laughed lightly. How do you want to compete? Last time you alone defeated the 8 of us. Dan Baishi removed the wooden token from her waist, as she displayed the numbers on it to Yiqing Luo, 42 points. This point was not the best at the moment, but it was not too far behind either. Now, we have 42 points, and we're betting 30 points on you. Dan Baishi pointed to the 2 male students behind her. If Student Yi alone defeats the 3 of us, it will be your win. You guys are robbers. Xiaofan's expression changed drastically as he opened up his arms and stood in front of Yiqing Luo, 3 against 1, and you still act so righteous. Dan Baishi sneered, and swept a disdainful glance at Xiaofan. Yo, isn't this the little trash that was abandoned by big sister Yiqing? You can help if you want, but... Are you sure you're helping, or dragging her down? I'm not trash. Xiaofan bit her lower lip tightly as that skinny little face shot out a resolute conviction. You're the trash. You obviously know that you can't defeat Madame Qing Luo alone, so you want to join forces with the 3 of us to snatch Madame Qing Luo's wooden token. Chapter 324. You all. Student Dan is right, this is the rule and it's reasonable and reasonable. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and pushed Xiaofan aside as she slowly walked towards Dan Baishi. Her charming eyes curved into a long and narrow arc, and her sweet voice lowered a few notches. Since Student Dan wants to bet, I will naturally accept this bet. This smile was extremely alluring. But Dan Baishi shuddered as her back started to feel chilly. She forced herself to hang on as she maintained a calm expression on her face. Just as she was about to shout for the 2 people behind her to attack Yiqing Luo, that greenish-white figure suddenly disappeared in front of her eyes. As though she had blended into the air. Dan Baishi's expression changed abruptly as she gave a low cry and speedily turned around as she drew out the long sword on her waist. Pay attention. Watch her closely. Her words had just ended when she heard a student giving a dull moan as his tall and mighty figure instantly flew out. He rolled several rounds on the ground and crashed against a thick tree trunk as he stopped. That huge tree which required 2 people to hug was swayed from the impact as leaves started to fall. That was enough to show the might of this collision. That male student's face turned pale as he groaned in pain and fainted not too long later. At the place where the male student was standing earlier, that slender and enchanting lady had a pair of sparkling eyes as she gave a flirtatious smile. Even though they were both wearing the same green and white uniform, she looked like a budding lotus on her body. Pure and elegant, making one not dare to look at her directly. Dan Baishi and the other male students' eyes widened as they were filled with astonishment. If it was said that day when Yiqing Luo fell into devil class, the 8 of them were defeated by Yiqing Luo, they could find an excuse to say that it was because they had belittled Yiqing Luo and weren't prepared. But now, they didn't even know when Yiqing Luo made her move or how she did it. If the person who flew out was them. Dan Baishi's petite little face turned extremely pale as she retreated a few steps. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she crooked her finger at Dan Baishi. Come, it's your turn now. Dan Baishi bit her lower lip fiercely as her pair of beautiful eyes stared at Yiqing Luo in terror as she clenched her fists tightly. After a while, she tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and quickly retreated into the forest at the side. As for the male student who was left behind, when he saw Dan Baishi leave alone with the wooden token, his brows furrowed. He clenched his fists tightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo for some time before gritting his teeth. As long as there's one survivor in our team, he represents our entire team. Kill or torture, it's up to you. You do have some backbone. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly. The feeling of being abandoned by your own companions isn't very good, right? The male student's upright face was slightly pale. The reason why this combat training has been changed to a team competition is to cultivate your sense of teamwork. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up in ridicule as her charming eyes were filled with cold ridicule. I'll temporarily let you return to student Dan's side, let me see your team awareness. After Yiqing Luo finished her words, she walked towards that fainted male student. She stretched out her hand to feel the male student's forehead as she skillfully took his pulse, while saying, also pass a message to student Dan, I will remember this bet and if we meet again later, I will not show any mercy. Yiqing Luo took out a medicine bottle from the profound phoenix ring as she poured out a medicinal pill which was used to nurture internal injuries and stuffed it into the male student's mouth. This companion of yours will be fine. Later when Lulu comes on patrol, she will bring him back for treatment. That male student's expression stiffened slightly as he looked at his companion who had taken the medicinal pill. His face regained some color. Chapter 325. Madame Qing Luo. Madame Qing Luo. Ni Ruopan hurriedly chased up to Yiqing Luo's footsteps. The way she looked at Yiqing Luo was filled with worship as her eyes shone brightly. Sir Qing Luo was simply too handsome. She was simply the goddess in her heart. She was even more determined to follow Madame Qing Luo's footsteps till death. Yiqing Luo's footsteps didn't stop as she heard the young lady shouting her name at the top of her lungs. Hearing someone chasing after him and calling him, "My lord," he felt a little uncomfortable. For the rest of the journey, it was quiet. They didn't see any other students. It was so quiet that it was as if she and Ni Rupan were the only ones left in the middle profound zone. Occasionally, one or two mid-level battle-type magical beasts would appear. Looking at Ni Ruopan who had been following her with a cautious look, Yiqing Luo let her deal with the intermediate-level magical beast alone. Ni Rupan did not refute the goddess's words. No matter how afraid he was in his heart, he still braced himself, released his profound energy, and charged toward the mid-level magical beast. Ni Rupan's physical quality was rather poor, hence it was indeed a little strenuous for her to face these mid-level magical beasts. In particular, Ni Ruopan's actual combat training was too little. There were several times when she was almost scratched by the mid-grade magical beasts. Fortunately, Yiqing Luo reminded her to avoid them in time. Yiqing Luo had no intention to go up and help, but at the most crucial moment, she would remind Ni Ruopan where to attack, how to avoid it, and how to calculate the magical beast's movements and frequency. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, no matter how bad Ni Rupan's aptitude was, she understood how to use her advantage to defeat the demonic beasts. Ni Rupan cried out in joy after she exhausted her strength to kill another demonic beast. She did it. He really did it. She killed a mid-level magical beast. In the past, Ni Rupan never thought that she could defeat a demonic beast with her poor aptitude. Even low-level magical beasts couldn't do it, let alone mid-level magical beasts. Ni Ruopan skipped as she dashed towards Yiqing Luo, so excited that her eyes were brimming with tears. Madame Qing Luo, I've done it. I really did it. Yiqing Luo's lips curled, I saw it, it's not bad. It was a simple sentence, but Ni Ruopan was so excited that she cried tears of joy. She wiped her tears and couldn't stop giggling. The goddess had praised her. The goddess' acknowledgement was more effective than any words. In his mind, he suddenly heard the goddess's cold and firm voice saying, "Everyone has their own dignity. Before they give up on themselves, no one can say that they are trash." After that, the two of them went deeper into the forest. When they met with magical beasts, Yiqing Luo let Ni Ruo take over. She killed one demonic beast after another, and about 5 demonic beasts died in her hands. Ni Ruopan gradually became more proficient from her original timid self. Kicking and punching, his movements were smooth and seamless. Time passed by one breath at a time. Soon, the sky gradually darkened. Ni Ruopan was exhausted, but she still wanted to continue. Ni Ruopan's body was covered in the blood of the demonic beasts, and her nostrils were filled with the smell of blood, but she did not notice it at all. It was until they killed another middle-grade magical beast. Ni Ruopan's brows were filled with smiles. "Madam Qing Luo, how many points have you accumulated for your wooden token?" She had killed so many magical beasts that she should have at least a dozen points. Chapter 326. You're a member of Tong Zi Qing's team, so the points from killing the magical beasts naturally belong to your team members. Yiqing Luo brushed away the wooden token on her waist as she replied disapprovingly. Then why did you ask me to kill the magical beasts? You should be the one to do it. Ni Ruopan bit her lower lip and looked like she wanted to cry but had no tears. She had put in so much effort just to earn more points for her goddess. Who would have thought that it would actually benefit Tong Ziqing? Don't feel resentful. That's your team. It's your team. Yiqing Luo played it down as she continued to walk forward. Your motive for participating in the actual combat training is to help your team accumulate points. Ni Ruopan pursed her lips as she silently followed behind Yiqing Luo. At this time, the sky had already turned completely dark. The dense trees around them looked like witches with their hands wide open, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, trying to swallow people into their stomachs. Do you know when the entrance to the training forest closes? For the entire day, apart from Dan Baishi and the others, she and Ni Ruopan did not see anyone else. He wondered how the other students were faring. Ni Ruopan raised her head and looked at the sky that was covered by the lush foliage. It was so dark that not a single ray of light could be seen. Vice-class monitor said that we must report to the secret passage before the night. What time of the day? Yiqing Luo calculated that there were still about 2 hours left. Let's go. Yiqing Luo opened her arms and stretched her muscles. Ni Ruopan was confused. Where are we going? Yiqing Luo twisted her neck and said lightly, looking for students, snatching points. Huh? Ni Ruopan blinked and returned to her senses after a while. Yiqing Luo had already walked far away and she hurriedly jogged up to her. Madam Qing Luo, are you going to snatch other students' wooden tokens? If they didn't snatch it now, when would they? These students had been working hard for an entire day, and at this time, they were exhausted. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a crafty arc. The most important thing now was to find the other students. Ni Ruopan went into a daze for some time before she understood Yiqing Luo's meaning from the deep smile on her lips. Madam Qing Luo, you're so treacherous. His words had just ended when his body was suddenly pulled by Yiqing Luo and he stood behind 2 huge trees. Ouch! Ni Ruopan's body was slammed against the tree trunk, and her face was covered by the surrounding leaves. Qing, before he could say anything, Yiqing Luo growled, "Shut up." Yiqing Luo's expression was grave as she squinted her eyes and looked ahead through the tree branches. Not far away, there was a hubbub of noise. More than 10 students dressed in green and white uniforms surrounded a person who had fallen to the ground. He could vaguely hear the coarse curses of a few people. What is this thing? It actually ran into the training forest. He's neither a human nor a beast. The training forest is basically sealed off. It's only opened when the classes have actual combat training. How could something else have gotten in? While those people were discussing, they heard another person shout, "Make way, the acting vice president is here, everyone make way." The students surrounding him immediately moved aside to make a path for him. Through the luminous pearls in the students' hands, Yiqing Luo saw that person's face on the ground. It was an unfamiliar face, and he was not a student of the devil class. That was a petite young lady, curled up on the ground. The young lady's attire was extremely strange. It was a black furry long robe, wrapping around her petite body. That exquisite little face was as pale as a piece of paper. Chapter 327. The students in front of her were all from the high profound class. No wonder she hadn't seen any devil class students. Unknowingly, she had barged into the high profound class. Fortunately, she didn't bump into any high profound class students along the way. Otherwise, if the high profound class knew that she had entered the training forest, it would implicate the devil class. Ni Ruopan also noticed the figure in front of her and froze on the spot, not daring to move. On the other side, following the respectful greetings of the students, Lu Xuelan slowly walked in front of the young girl, surrounded by the stars and the moon. A little girl? Lu Xuelan squinted her beautiful eyes as she lifted her leg and gave the young lady a kick. "Where did you come from?" The young lady opened her clear eyes and shrank back as she shook her head. "Bring her out and hand her over to the elder quarters." Lu Xuelan rolled her eyes in disdain, as arrogant as a rooster. "Don't bother me with such a small matter, I'm very busy." Yes, Vice President is appointed today and has so many things on hand. For the glory of the high profound class, you took time out of your busy schedule to participate in the actual combat training. It's just a stranger, just hand her over to the elder. A female student beside her smiled flatteringly as she kept on bootlicking. Such a responsible vice president like vice president, I think it won't be long before you can officially take up the post. Lu Xuelan had a complacent look as she laughed and walked past the young lady. Lu Xueyu was punished and Lu Xuelan took over. These two sisters looked very close on the surface, but she didn't expect that. They were scheming against each other for the sake of status. "Madam Qing Luo, that person looks so pitiful," Ni Ruopan said in a low voice. Yiqing Luo's eyes flickered slightly. That young lady was covered in injuries, and if she didn't take the time to treat her, she might not even be able to keep her life. She wondered what kind of cruel methods these high profound class students had used on a little girl. But Yiqing Luo didn't want to be nosy. She couldn't care less. She wasn't omnipotent. There were more than 10 high profound class students. If she rushed out, wouldn't she be courting death? Especially if she were to poke her nose into this, wouldn't it be telling the high profound class students that she had come to the training forest? And then, it would implicate the devil class? In the end, the elder would investigate and close the secret passage to the training forest. Little Luo. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to pull Ni Ruopan away, Old Man Tsang's voice suddenly rang in her mind. She was startled and replied, "I'm here. If I'm not mistaken, that girl should be a beastman." Beastmen? Yiqing Luo frowned, not understanding what the beast-human clan was. The beastmen race is different from magical beasts. Magical beasts are pure beasts, while the beastmen race should be considered half-human and half-beast. Old Man Tsang explained in a deep voice, the beastmen race is born half-human and half-beast. Hearing Old Man Tsang's words, Yiqing Luo then noticed that the lady lying on the ground had 2 black ears on top of her bundled-up hair. It was furry and trembled from time to time. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Cat beast? The Beastman clan is extremely rare in the Nirvana realm, and it can even be said that they have long been extinct. Old Man Tsang was silent for a moment, and his tone became serious. I never thought that I would actually be able to see another beastman. The Nirvana realm was already extinct? Could it be that this young lady came from outside the Nirvana realm? Chapter 328. Contract? Although the beastmen looked like half human and half beast, but if you didn't look closely, no matter how you looked at it, it looked like a human. If you made a contract with it, it felt like you were making a contract with a person. The biggest difference between the magical beasts and the beastmen is this. Old Man Tsang continued in a deep voice, the magical beast contract is your battle partner, for you to ride, to cooperate with you in battle. Whereas the beastman contract is to provide you with internal support, to receive the beastman's bloodline inheritance. Bloodline? Bloodline inheritance is to share the strength of the beastmen with you. Old Man Tsang's tone became a little excited. Humans all want to sign a contract with the beastmen, to receive the beastman's bloodline inheritance. This will be of great help to your cultivation. You mean, should save her? Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly. This is for your own good. The beastmen appearing in Nirvana realm is a rare opportunity. Indeed, it was a rare opportunity. But, under such circumstances, how should she save that young lady? Madam Qing Luo, what are you thinking about? Ni Ruopan carefully tugged at Yiqing Luo's sleeve. Yiqing Luo kept a calm face and didn't make a sound. Ni Ruopan was a little scared. A way to save her. Yiqing Luo frowned as her brain worked. She saw a student lifting the young lady with one hand and preparing to leave the training forest. Yiqing Luo didn't have time to hesitate, she gritted her teeth and used her thoughts to call out Shiju. Ever since leaving the magic beast forest, Shiju had been staying in the pet space. Shiju was the same size as Chi-Chi, sitting on the ground and looking up at Yiqing Luo. Ni Ruopan was shocked when a little thing suddenly popped out. Yiqing Luo quickly untied her uniform and took out a set of red dress that Dmo Xian had prepared for her from the profound phoenix ring. She threw the uniform to Ni Ruopan. Do you still remember the way? Ni Ruopan nodded. She might not be good at other things, but her memory was the best. She followed Yiqing Luo left and right along the way. To prevent getting lost, she specially remembered all the roads. All right. Go back the way you came and wait for me at the place where we met. Yiqing Luo said as she untied her hair tie, letting her fine black hair fall down. You want to be alone, there's less than 2 hours left. We'll leave immediately after we save them. At the same time when her words fell, Shiju received Yiqing Luo's instructions and its palm-sized figure suddenly transformed into a leopard beast in battle form. Roar, a sharp howl came from Shiju's mouth. The size of Shiju's combat form was a little bigger than when he saw it in the magical beast forest. This change naturally attracted the attention of the high-level class students. Yiqing Luo leaped up and landed on the back of Shiju. At the same time, her fingertips lifted a white veil, covering half of her face. When Shiju transformed, Ni Ruopan was completely stunned. Her aptitude was mediocre, but she had a good memory. She liked to read books that were helpful to her cultivation. Naturally, he could recognize that this leopard-shaped magical beast was a low-level magical beast. A mirage beast. What level of magical beast was that? In the entire Three Springs city, there were no more than 3 families that could take out a mirage beast. Madam Qing Luo had actually contracted a mirage beast as her own war pet. Oh my god! What kind of pervert was her goddess? Chapter 329. Yiqing Luo's vision had been paying attention to Ni Ruopan. Seeing that she had gone far away, Yiqing Luo rode on Shiju and speedily approached that group of students. Who is it? More than 10 students stopped in their tracks and raised the luminous pearl. One of the students frowned and berated sternly, "Do you know what this place is?" These students had some doubts in their hearts. The entrance to the heavenly training forest would usually only be open during class training. Why were there so many strangers today? Wait, wait! Some students exclaimed, that's a mirage beast. Low-level mirage beast. More than 10 students' expressions changed when they heard the two words, mirage beast. Their faces revealed an astonished look. Mirage beast? Even if it was a low-level mirage beast, they would not be its opponent even if they worked together to deal with it. But there was actually a person sitting on the back of a low-level mirage beast. There was actually someone who could contract a mirage beast. What happened? Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice came from afar. Yi Qingqian stepped on the air and landed gracefully in front of the students. Yi Qingqian had been living a miserable life recently. Ever since the last time when she brought Lu Shuiyu to catch Yi Qing Luo for violating the school rules, but was slapped on the face by Yi Qing Luo and was forced to wash the toilet for 3 days, Yi Qingqian had been isolated by the students. Lu Shuiyu wouldn't do anything to her on the surface, but the means of revenge in the dark was enough to torture her until she begged for mercy. Today, Lu Shuilan's promotion saved her from the edge of isolation. She wanted to achieve a good result in today's actual combat training, to regain the good impression of the students. Coincidentally, she had accumulated over 40 points and was preparing to leave to find Lu Shuilan to flatter her, but she discovered the commotion over here. Thinking of the recent few days, the students had isolated her under Lu Shuiyu's hint. She had to change her image and maintain the reputation of Three Springs Town's #1 beauty. Therefore, after she saw the commotion, she immediately came up to welcome them. Student Qingqian. A student saw Yi Qingqian's arrival and was overjoyed. Although Yi Qingqian had offended Lu Shuiyu these few days, everyone had been avoiding her. But today Lu Shuilan had ascended to the position and everyone wasn't willing to offend the pampered eldest young miss of Three Springs sect, so they tried to cater to her perfunctorily. Most importantly, Yi Qingqian's profound grade was above them. Student Qingqian, there's a stranger in the training forest. The student pointed at the young lady who was being carried, and glanced at Yi Qing Luo's direction apprehensively. The minute Yi Qingqian came over, her vision fell onto Yi Qing Luo. That red dress which was like a blooming rose and that enchanting temperament made her subconsciously think of Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qingqian's eyes darkened as her gaze turned sharp. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes as she met Yi Qingqian's probing gaze with a smile which didn't look like a smile. The red lips under the veil curled up into a sneer. He had not expected Yi Qingqian to be here as well. But Yi Qingqian's eyes seemed to have recognized her. Yi Qingqian understood her so well. Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes curved as she intentionally suppressed her own voice, changing the tone of her voice. I'm just passing by this place, I don't want to start a dispute with you, I only need you to hand that young lady over to me. Passing by? Yi Qingqian scoffed. The entrance here is usually sealed and only open today, how did you pass by? What has it got to do with you? Yi Qing Luo patted Shi Ju lightly, indicating it to come closer. Chapter 330. No matter how mentally prepared Yi Qingqian was, she couldn't help but shriek out in fright when she saw the head of a huge leopard. I have no intention to cause trouble. Hand the girl over to me and I will leave immediately. Yi Qing Luo spat in disdain as she raised her eyes and looked directly at the direction of the girl. The student who was carrying the young girl fell to the ground when his gaze swept past him. She blinked her eyes, her pure eyes revealed a bit of fear and innocence, a delicate and pitiful look. Yi Qing Luo's figure swayed as she flipped down from the jade and flew towards the girl. Just as her hand was about to pull the girl into her arms, suddenly a "pa-pa" sound came from the air. A soft whip, as fast as lightning, lashed over fiercely, making a whistling sound in the air. Trespassers in the heavenly training forest must be arrested and sent to the elder quarters. Yi Qingqian shouted and waved the long whip to stop Yi Qing Luo's action. That whip was lashed with great force. Yi Qing Luo's hand retracted and her body fell down softly, her body had already avoided this long whip in an extremely strange posture. Yi Qingqian's delicate brows twisted into a ball and her face turned extremely ugly. She was unconvinced as she flipped the long whip and lashed it towards Yi Qingluo's body. Yi Qingqian's original weapon was a soft whip. Previously Yi Qingluo had destroyed a supreme divine whip and Yi Tianquang had found a pure quality long whip for her. Although it was not as powerful as the previous divine whip, but after all it was still the best of the pure quality. When the whip lashed down, there was a trace of indistinct electric current running along the whip's body. She is indeed student Qingqian, the number one genius beauty of Three Springs sect, a well-deserved reputation. The high profound class students couldn't help but praise Yi Qingqian's action and posture. These students' aptitudes were all above average. But that didn't stop them from praising the strong. Yi Qingqian's whip skills were incomparably elegant. His every move was like a dance. And that long whip, swept through the air, brought about a sound of breaking wind, which made one's heart tremble. Even if it was them, probably no one could avoid Yi Qingqian's whip. But, what surprised them was that the red-clothed woman with a white veil on her face was as nimble as a loach. They were unable to catch her at all. Yi Qingqian's every whip missed. The whip struck the ground around them, causing cracks to appear on the ground. Yi Qingluo took out a dagger from the profound phoenix ring and pointed it at Yi Qingqian. The radiance of the night pearls in the surroundings reflected the dagger's blade aura. It was extremely dazzling. Yi Qingluo didn't use the glower flame fan, and based on Yi Qingqian's understanding of herself, she would probably be recognized the minute she used the fan. Yi Qingluo was proficient in light weapons. Daggers and feather fan were no different. That dagger could cut through iron like mud. It had barely touched Yi Qingqian by half an inch and it had already been cut. But as the dagger flew around Yi Qingluo's fingertips, it didn't hurt her fingers at all. On the contrary, Yi Qingqian was forced to retreat by that dagger. Yi Qingluo's control of the dagger was extremely agile, as it slashed towards her body, as though it would slice her neck in the next second. The terrain of the training forest was extremely disadvantageous to Yi Qingqian. The surrounding forest was dense and Yi Qingqian's long whip, the space was too narrow and faced with resistance, the power was not even half of the power displayed in a spacious area. Chapter 331. After a few rounds, Yi Qingqian was like a mouse being teased, unable to resist at all. When the surrounding students saw this scene, the admiration towards Yi Qingqian gradually turned into ridicule. Yi Qingqian's face flushed red. This was called not being able to act cool and instead became a coward. She whipped the long whip hatefully, wishing she could whip the lady in red 81 times. Women in red were all so hateful. Yi Qingluo was. And this lady too. Why are you all still standing there foolishly? If the elder knew that an outsider had entered the training forest and we let the outsider escape, how would he punish the high profound class? At this moment, Yi Qingqian had no intention to continue to be in the limelight. Her mind was filled with thoughts of gathering more than 10 students to take down this lady in red and let her torture her. The high profound class students frowned, not liking Yi Qingqian's tone. They had always been respected in the academy and were used to being flattered. They were used to seeing Yi Qingqian's gentle and generous look, but when they heard Yi Qingqian's commanding words, they revealed a displeased look. Seeing that those students were unmoved, Yi Qingqian was so angry that she almost vomited blood. In this moment of absent-mindedness, there was a cold touch on her cheek. She immediately concentrated and was about to avoid it. However, the enchanting figure in red before him waved her sleeves lightly. An icy coldness streaked across her cheek. Immediately, there was a stinging pain on the side of her cheek, as if there was liquid flowing out. You dare to ruin my face. Yi Qingqian's eyes widened as she reached out to touch her cheek. Sure enough, there was a stickiness on her hand. What women cared most about was their own appearance. Especially Yiqing Qian, who was known as the #1 beauty in Three Spring City, she cared about her own appearance even more. Yiqing Luo played with the dagger in her hand, which was stained with blood. Her brows revealed a mocking sneer. "Next time, it will be your left cheek. Are you ready?" "You." Yiqing Qian gripped the long whip tightly and lashed it towards Yiqing Luo in anger. A strong profound qi broke out from Yiqing Qian's body. A powerful wave of qi encircled her body. That long whip drew a black arc in midair, like a soft snake, as it wound towards Yiqing Luo. With a belly full of anger, the profound energy released was much more ferocious than before. If you're still students of the high profound class, you shouldn't just stand by and watch. Not only will we be punished by the elders for trespassing into the training forest, but we will also be reported to the entire academy. When that time comes, I won't be the only one who will be embarrassed. Yiqing Qian had learnt her lesson this time round. These students had stood at the top for a long time, and they valued their reputation more than anyone else. Inform the entire academy that the high profound class had released a stranger who trespassed into the training grounds. The one who was embarrassed was the entire high profound class. If word got out that a dozen of them from the high profound class allowed a girl to come and go as she pleased and even brought an injured person away, the students from the other classes would probably doubt the capability of the high-level class. Those 10 students exchanged glances and headed towards Yiqing Luo's direction, surrounding her. "Shijue." Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed coldly as her lips curled into a treacherous sneer. She shouted out, and Shiju, who was originally standing not too far away, widened its beast eyes as it stared unblinkingly at its master. With a leap, it broke through those 10 students' encirclement and stood right in front of Yiqing Luo. It arched its body, opened its mouth and gave out a low growl. Its sharp fangs were exceptionally dazzling. Chapter 332. One must know that if it was an experienced mercenary group facing a mirage beast, they would feel guilty. Not to mention these students. Yiqing Qian swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Looking at the lady riding on the mirage beast's back, the coquettish red figure stung her eyes. She suppressed the surging fear in her heart and pursed her red lips tightly. This lady's profound grade is not high. As long as we restrain the mirage beast, we will subdue her, and that mirage beast will not dare to be rash. Just now, when they exchanged blows, Yiqing Qian sensed that the lady's profound grade was not considered high. She was able to avoid her long whip only because of the terrain here and the lady's agility. The only thing worthy of their vigilance was that low-grade mirage beast. Red dress, leopard-type mirage beast. If it wasn't for the fact that this mirage beast was not very similar to the leopard-type mirage beast they saw in the magical beast, Yiqing Qian would have thought that this lady was Yiqing Luo. However, when she thought that Yiqing Luo was still in the waste class and had no chance to appear here, she suppressed this thought in her heart. More than a dozen students heard this and once again surrounded Yiqing Luo and Shiju. "Miss, this is the Heavenly Academy's restricted area. You trespass here has violated the school's rules. You'd better surrender obediently and follow us to see the elders." One of the male students frowned and tried to reason with Yiqing Luo. The prestige of the Heavenly Academy had spread throughout the Nirvana realm. Daring to create trouble in the Heavenly Academy, if the elders were to punish you severely, you might lose half your life. However, the lady opposite did not show any signs of fear. With a veil covering her face, he could not see her expression clearly. However, that pair of cold, enchanting eyes was like an ice-cold, poisonous tongue, ruthlessly pinching his heart. This lady's aura was too majestic. Even the name of the Heavenly Academy couldn't suppress her. What's the point of talking so much? The entrance to the training forest is about to close. Yiqing Qian's gentle and beautiful face was covered with a layer of sternness. Her voice also added some majesty. "You guys, go to the entrance to call for help. Today we must take down these outsiders who trespass into the training forest." Pausing for a moment, she continued, "For outsiders to trespass into the training forest, it is very likely to affect the safety of the other students. As students of the high profound class, if we can save the hidden safety of the school, it would be an honor for the high profound class. One of them went to the entrance to report while the others continued to be in a deadlock with Yiqing Luo. The dense forest and the training forest covered the bright moon in the sky. The surroundings were dark and gloomy, terrifying, and extremely stifling. Yiqing Qian had always been one of the top students in the class. Even though she had lost face and reputation due to many things, her strength was still there. At this moment, Yiqing Qian put on a solemn expression as she commanded everyone in an orderly manner. The other students were also thinking the same thing. To let the high profound class become the target of envy from the other classes, they immediately developed a conflicted heart and cooperated with Yiqing Qian. One must know that even though their high profound class was revered by the other students, however, they were still suppressed by the class of gods. At the mention of the high profound class, the students had to mention the class of gods and use it as a comparison. Yiqing Qian ordered 2 people to guard the injured young lady, in case she was taken away by Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo was taken away, they would not be able to catch up to her when she rode on the mirage beast. Yiqing Qian glanced sideways at the young lady lying on the ground. A cold glint appeared in her eyes as the long whip moved again. Chapter 333. Shiju's size was huge, but it was extremely agile. The surrounding dense forest was not a hindrance to it but a help. Its thick claws slammed hard on the ground and its huge body had already soared into the air. On the other hand, the earth quaked and the mountains shook as countless cracks appeared on the ground. Yiqing Qian didn't stop as she released her profound qi and injected it into the long whip. Her target was only Shiju. The surrounding students also quickly surrounded him and attacked him. Their target was Yiqing Luo. One against the mirage beast, the other against Yiqing Luo. One had to admit that Yiqing Qian's move was indeed ingenious. When Yiqing Qian attacked Shiju, Shiju avoided the attack of the long whip and charged forward to counterattack. On Yiqing Luo's side, a few high profound class students attacked from the left and right, setting off bursts of palm wind as they struck towards Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo and Shiju hadn't been together for a long time and the human and beast had yet to develop a tacit understanding. The high profound class split up to attack and Yiqing Luo was at a disadvantage. Just as Yiqing Qian's upper body curled up a whirlwind, Yiqing Luo's body flipped and rolled down from Shiju's back. When the students saw this, joy flashed past their eyes. As long as Yiqing Luo didn't have the mirage beast's help, it would be easy to capture her. Yiqing Qian's lips curled into a cold smile as she shouted, "Student Yan, Student Shengwan, I'll have to trouble the both of you to trap this mirage beast." Among the students who were entangled with Yiqing Luo, 2 of them retreated from the battle and flew towards Yiqing Qian's direction. A man and a woman. The man was holding a long sword and had a proper appearance. The minute he got close to Shiju, the long sword in his hand curled up a ray of sword radiance as it struck towards Shiju. After being shouted at by Yiqing Qian suddenly realized that this man holding a long sword, wasn't he Shangguan Lu Li's third brother, Shangguan Fangyi? As for the other woman, her looks were exquisite and her brows had the same gentleness as Yiqing Qian. Only her eyes revealed a hint of viciousness. Not knowing if it was because the surroundings were too dark or Yiqing Luo's eyes were blurry, Yiqing Luo actually felt that this woman looked like someone. Not giving Yiqing Luo much time to think, Yiqing Qian's long whip had already lashed towards her. The 2 people that Yiqing Qian had chosen, one used a long blade while the other used a pair of blades. With their coordination, they really managed to block Shiju who was about to rush towards Yiqing Luo. This was the academy, Yiqing Luo could not kill anyone. Shiju could dodge and put on a threatening stance, but it couldn't really use its claws and mouth. Otherwise, with a single swipe of its claws, these high-profound class students would be turned into meat patties. If they were to leave with the cat-beast girl, these high-level class students would leave this matter unsettled in order to protect the reputation of the high-level class. Even if the academy were to conduct a thorough investigation, it would be done in secret to prevent disrupting the students' concentration in class. But if someone were to die here, and it was a high-profound class student, the consequences would be different. At this moment, Yiqing Luo was surrounded by 5 high-profound class students. Yiqing Jian sneered, "Trespasser, how dare you intrude into our high-profound class territory? Now, pay the price for your ignorance." That lady in red, as she walked, her skirt was slightly fluttering, like a rose blooming in the dark night, revealing a flirtatious yet fatal charm. In the darkness, it seemed as if a figure in Yiqing Qian's heart was gradually overlapping. If there was something strange, then it was strange that this lady had to wear a red skirt, and looked so similar to that little slut Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Qian's eyes seemed to be dipped in poison, becoming increasingly vicious. Seeing that Yiqing Qian's long whip was about to land on Yiqing Luo. Chapter 334. Yiqing Luo's speed was extremely fast, like a ghost. A chill arose in Yiqing Qian's heart. Just now when Yiqing Luo got close to her, her face was ruined by Yiqing Luo. With the previous lesson, Yiqing Qian swiftly retreated and with a feint, she avoided Yiqing Luo's entanglement. Yiqing Qian's long whip was a long-distance attack. And Yiqing Luo's dagger could only be used in close combat. As long as Yiqing Luo didn't get close to her, Yiqing Luo couldn't do anything to her. With this thought in mind, Yiqing Qian's eyes shot out a ray of light and the hand holding the long whip waved again. Yiqing Luo raised her brows with interest. Perhaps it was because she had trained Yiqing Qian previously, the current her seemed to be much more mature. She actually knew how to use her brain to think of a way to deal with it. Seemed like she had underestimated Yiqing Qian previously, treating her as a brainless idiot with big breasts. Yiqing Luo chuckled. Hearing that chuckle, Yiqing Qian's expression congealed, the cold glint in her eyes deepened as she raised her palm and brushed against the long whip. The whip's body suddenly shone with a red glow. Strong profound qi burst forth, like a snake that was blooming with light, slithering up. Earth profound early stage. Student Qing Qian actually broke through the earth profound stage. The 2 students who were guarding the cat beast girl had been watching the battle closely. The moment they saw the profound qi released by Yiqing Qian, their mouths immediately turned into an O shape. Such a strong wave, the surrounding had already set off layers of huge waves due to the profound qi released by Yiqing Qian. In a split second, the winds and clouds changed. I was wondering what had happened to student Qing Qian these few days. I didn't expect her to advance to the earth profound stage. She is indeed the eldest miss of 3 Springs sect, her innate talent is so strong. The 2 students couldn't stop exclaiming. Even the other students looked at Yiqing Qian in disbelief with a flabbergasted expression. Although the high profound class was an extremely talented class, the overall level of profound grade was above mystic profound 6th grade. And those who broke through the earth profound stage, the first and second class added up were no more than 5. Yiqing Qian's profound grade had always stayed at mystic profound 9th grade, especially recently, no one paid attention to her. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Qian actually broke through the earth profound stage quietly. Huh. This intruder is dead for sure. The high-profound class students were rubbing their fists excitedly, as if they had already predicted the scene where they would bring these 2 intruders to the elder quarters to receive their commendation. The students of the high-profound class were all outstanding students in terms of innate talent and perception. After exchanging blows with the intruder, they could sense that the lady's profound grade should be on par with them. Her only advantage was her precision, sensitivity, and speed. So what if he was fast? No matter how fast he would eventually tire out. As long as this intruder had no intention of leaving alone, they would be able to exhaust her strength round after round. What's more, with Earth Profound Realm Yiqing Qian around, no matter how fast she was, could she be faster than an Earth Profound cultivator? Even the difference of 1 grade was like the difference between heaven and earth. Not to mention the difference of a mystic class. They were not on the same level at all. Yiqing Luo's eyes surfaced a sliver of astonishment. She had not expected Yiqing Qian to break through to the Earth Profound Realm. The last time in the Magic Beast Forest, Yiqing Qian was still in the Mystic Profound 9th grade and there was no sign of her breaking through at all. When Yiqing Luo was in the Yellow Profound 9th grade, she was stuck for a long period of time. She was obviously on the verge of breaking through but had no way to do so. But in a short span of half a month, Yiqing Qian broke through such a huge barrier. Chapter 335. Not giving Yiqing Luo much time to think, that strong aura had already attacked Yiqing Luo. Releasing the profound energy of the Earth Profound Realm, Yiqing Qian's speed and the strength of the long whip had a qualitative leap. Yiqing Luo was fast, but she was even faster. The profound energy that lingered around the long whip seemed to have locked onto Yiqing Luo, as it tightly wrapped around her back. Yiqing Luo quickly stepped on the strange footwork, her figure seemed to have disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The other students who swarmed up were unable to use their naked eyes to track Yiqing Luo's figure. However, no matter where Yiqing Luo stopped, Yiqing Qian's long whip seemed to have grown eyes, chasing after her. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed a trace of horror. Did she see it wrongly? It seemed like. On top of Yiqing Qian's long whip, other than that dark ray, there was a trace of faintly discernible black qi moving about. It was not obvious at all. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell. What kind of aura was this? Because of that moment of distraction, Yiqing Luo's right arm was swept by that long whip. Instantly, a hole was torn in her red robe, revealing Yiqing Luo's fair skin. On her arm, there was a scarlet whip mark, extremely clear. Yiqing Luo felt a burning pain on her arm, glancing sideways, that scarlet whip mark was already oozing blood. Intruder, don't you think you're very fast? Come. Let's see if your legs or my whip is faster. Yiqing Qian's lips curled into a proud arc, as she sneered and waved the long whip. Looking at the lady in red being whipped, Yiqing Qian had the pleasure of hitting Yiqing Luo, that little waste. Her beautiful eyes were gradually dyed with an excited smile, as she raised the long whip in her hand and attacked Yiqing Luo once again. Luo lass, I'm afraid your eldest sister used some unusual means to break through the Earth Profound Realm. Old Man Tsang's voice sounded in her mind. Unusual means? What did he mean? Was it related to that black qi? It's similar to your fourth sister, she has the aura from the dark side. Old Man Tsang's tone was solemn. He pondered for a moment and said, the last time your fourth sister used an item from the dark forces, it seemed to be related to your eldest sister. With Old Man Tsang's reminder, Yiqing Luo recalled that during the ability assessment, Yiqing Qian had personally admitted that she was the one who passed the long sword to Yiqing Ling. Her excuse was that she had borrowed the sword from her Shifu, the head of the largest school, the 10 Scenic. In this way, Yiqing Qian and that long sword were inextricably linked. Yiqing Qian really had connections with the dark forces? If your eldest sister really borrows the power of the dark forces and breaks through to the Earth Profound Realm. Old Man Tsang's tone became increasingly heavy. I'm afraid that your eldest sister will be the same as your fourth sister, controlled by the evil energy of the Profound Yin. While conversing with Old Man Tsang, Yiqing Qian did not stop her attacks. Yiqing Luo endured the pain from her arm and swiftly changed her footwork. Surely Yiqing Qian hadn't really been forced by her and made a deal with the dark forces, right? Last time, in order to fight for Yiqing Ling to be allocated to the high profound class. This time, was it to prove her ability? In order to become stronger, he was willing to pay any price. While she was dodging and dodging, the students had already invited the elder from the entrance. The mighty group of more than 10 people, wasn't the one standing at the front of the group of people, Elder Yunxiang? Since yesterday, because of Lu Shuiyu's matter, he was caught red-handed by Yun Yun. In order to make Yiqing Luo satisfied, Yunxiang was also punished on the surface. Chapter 336. Yunxiang had thought that being in charge of the training forest was just opening the entrance and guarding the entrance to prevent students from getting injured during actual combat training. He had not expected that there would be an intruder. If this matter were to be passed to Yun Yun's ears, his small mistake would become a big one. Yunxiang was filled with dissatisfaction and wanted to settle the matter as soon as possible, so he hurried over. Standing far away, he saw Yiqing Qian waving her long whip as she chased after a lady in red. There was also a low-leveled mirage beast and 2 students were struggling to stop the mirage beast. What's going on? What's going on? How could there be an intruder in the heavenly training forest? Elder Yunxiang frowned as he walked over quickly. Yiqing Qian kept her long whip and cupped her fists towards Yunxiang. Elder Yunxiang, the students from the high profound class will not let off anyone who tries to destroy the peace of the school. Yunxiang's gaze met Yiqing Qian and a trace of astonishment flashed past his eyes. He could naturally feel the earth profound qi that was released from Yiqing Qian. Another student from the high profound class had broken through to the earth profound class. Why was there no reminder on the school's wooden plaque? Lu Shuilan followed beside Yunxiang but realized that he kept staring at Yiqing Qian and a trace of displeasure arose in her heart. Yunxiang had always been standing on Lu Shuiyu's side, and now that she had replaced Lu Shuiyu's position and became the acting vice president, it was only a matter of time before she became the vice president. But Yunxiang still had a lukewarm attitude towards her. Now he was still staring at Yiqing Qian. Could it be that he wanted to groom Yiqing Qian into the next Lu Shuiyu? This thought made Lu Shuilan's eyes sunk and she immediately opened her mouth. What Qing Qian said is right, our faculty council will not let the intruder off. However, Lu Shuilan's words made the surrounding high profound class students unhappy. What did they mean by faculty council? This was obviously the intruder who was discovered by the high profound class, and it was them who exhausted their energy to capture the intruder. How did it become the faculty council's credit? But due to Lu Shuilan's status, the students did not dare to voice out their dissatisfaction but only looked at Lu Shuilan's gaze with unhappiness. What faction are you trying to form? Settle that illusion beast for me, all of you quickly take down the intruder. The entrance is about to close. Yunxiang felt annoyed and waved his sleeves impatiently. He didn't have the free time to watch the disputes between some juniors, and he felt even more anxious in his heart when he thought about how there was only less than an hour left until the hour of 9. The white long robe swept past in the dark night, turning into an afterimage. The person had already rushed in front of Shiju. He waved his palm, bringing with it a wave of killing intent as he chopped down. Shengguan Fangyi and Yan Zhenfei immediately retreated from the illusion beast's attack range. The 2 people's bodies were already riddled with scars long ago, all scratched by Shiju's claws. At this moment, 20 over high profound class students had surrounded Yiqing Luo. Class 1 and Class 2 had always been in a competitive relationship. But this time, the 2 classes were surprisingly cooperative. Yiqing Luo's arm was injured and her profound grade was not enough to withstand the earth profound qi. The corrosion of the long whip caused her long arms to ache. At this moment, more than 20 Mystic Realm students swarmed forward. Suddenly, from Yiqing Luo's surroundings, a few gold coin darts suddenly flew over. The force of those gold coin darts was ferocious and strong, and with a swoosh swoosh sound, it revolved around Yiqing Luo. Those high profound class students were on high alert as they sensitively took a few steps back. A few gold coin darts were embedded deeply into the ground. Chapter 337. only to see 3 figures approaching at an extremely fast speed. In just a blink of an eye, they were already standing next to Yiqing Luo. These 3 people were dressed in red robes and their heads were covered tightly, only revealing a pair of penetrating eyes. "There's help!" a student cried out in shock. Yun Xiang was restraining Shi Ju when he heard this cry as he looked over with rapt attention. He saw another 3 intruders by Yiqing Luo's side. His heart suddenly trembled as he was overwhelmed with shock. The entrance to the heavenly training forest had always been sealed. Only today was the entrance opened and he had been guarding the entrance. If anyone were to barge in, he would definitely be the first to discover it. How could there be so many intruders? Quickly take down these 4 people. When we return, the elder quarters will send people to search the entire training forest and catch all the intruders. Yun Xiang's face was gloomy as the moves he struck out became more and more vicious. Yiqing Luo held onto her right arm as her peripheral vision swept past the few people beside her as her pink lips pursed. "What are you guys doing here?" These 3 people were none other than Xiao Jin, Yan Xiao En, Tong Ziqing. When she saw Tong Ziqing, Yiqing Luo was slightly astonished. "Didn't you say that we need to nurture our team consciousness? We're a team, aren't we?" Xiao Jin smiled as his tone was calm. "She did say that, but if the elder quarters were to find out, it would implicate the entire devil class." Yan Xiao carefully avoided Yiqing Luo's injured arm as she patted her shoulder. "Don't worry, even if we suspect the entire academy, the elder quarters will absolutely not think that it's the devil class. Stop the nonsense. Since you want us to understand what's called a team, why are you so apprehensive? Are you treating us as a team?" Tong Ziqing scoffed coldly. Her gaze towards Yiqing Luo was as unfriendly as usual. But the meaning in her words was obviously that she had listened to what Yiqing Luo said previously, acknowledging Yiqing Luo as her companion. Looking at the 3 people beside her, Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with warmth. Her brows were filled with smiles as she slowly nodded. "Yes, we're a team." Team. These 2 words, Yiqing Luo had thought and recited for 2 lifetimes. Finally today, she could openly say out the word team. In her previous life, as the head of the hidden family, she did not have the right to make friends, nor did she have the right to become companions with anyone. Everything she had should be given to the Yi family. This was the first time someone had treated her as a member of the team. She clenched her fists so tightly that she could no longer feel the pain from the whip wound on her arm. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and there was a gleam of confidence in the depths of her charming eyes. "Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to any of my companions." Yiqing Luo lowered her voice and shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady who was being guarded by Shengguan Fangyi. "If there's a chance, help me bring that young lady away. As long as we bring her away, we can easily leave this place." Yiqing Qian also knew that her target was to bring that young lady away. It was to prevent her from getting close to the young girl and exhausting her strength. However, with the help of Xiao Jin and the others, as long as they cooperated well, it would be an easy matter to bring that young lady away. The few of them exchanged glances and nodded in understanding. Yiqing Luo's vision returned back to those surrounding students. Her gaze suddenly fell onto the wooden tokens on the students' waists, as her long and narrow eyes were suffused with a trace of treacherous craftiness. She abruptly raised her palm and a burst of profound qi was unleashed from both her feet. Chapter 338. The branches rustled and the fallen leaves on the ground were blown away by the strong wind. The shadows of the trees danced, and when the whirlwind blew towards them, those 20 over students felt a chill down their spines. Suddenly, a student cried out in shock, "My wooden token is gone. And mine." One after another, the students touched the wooden tokens on their bodies in disbelief. That wooden token represented their points, represented their honor in the class. There was only 1 hour left till the end of the actual combat training. If they lost their wooden tokens now, it meant that their one day's hard work and one day's blood and sweat had all gone to waste. For students' wooden tokens were gone and the other students immediately covered their own wooden tokens. After they touched their own wooden tokens, they heaved a sigh of relief. Those 4 students' faces were like frosted eggplants as they held tightly onto their waistbands, searching their entire bodies but couldn't find their wooden tokens. How could this be possible? They had obviously pinned their wooden tokens on their waistbands, waiting for the end of the training to lock in their own results. But if their wooden tokens were snatched away at this critical juncture, they would be eliminated. 1 hour. The eyes of the 4 students slowly landed on the students around them. Those 10 over students who still had their wooden tokens immediately covered their own as they took a few steps away from those 4 students. Are you looking for your wooden tokens? I saw him earlier, he was the one who took advantage of the chaos to steal your wooden tokens. Yiqing Luo smiled innocently as her charming eyes curved as she pointed towards one of them. That person was stunned as his face flushed red. What nonsense are you sprouting? How could I possibly steal their wooden tokens? Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. The gazes of all the students were fixated on that person. Especially those 4 students who lost their wooden tokens, their gazes towards that person were filled with suspicion. It's not me. She's slandering us, trying to divide us. However, no matter how that person explained furiously, the students' eyes were filled with unconcealable suspicions. Suddenly, a sweet-sounding and calm voice rang out, "Don't be deceived by the intruder. He wants to make us fight among ourselves so that he can seize the opportunity to escape. How dare he show off such a petty trick in front of me?" Yiqing Qian's icy cold eyes stared coldly at Yiqing Luo as she scoffed, "The intruder is already injured, the other 3 are nothing to be afraid of." The students were skeptical. After all, this wooden plaque represented the final results of their training. If he were to be eliminated in the last hour, he would definitely suffer from internal injuries due to anger. Take him down first. If we continue to waste time like this, our wooden token will be in even more danger. One of the students shouted impatiently as he took the lead to raise his weapon and charged towards Yiqing Luo's direction. He hadn't even taken a few steps when he heard Yiqing Luo's clear voice leisurely ringing beside his ear, "Little brother, there's someone behind trying to steal your wooden token." The student subconsciously turned his head to look behind him. He saw the student whose wooden token had mysteriously disappeared standing behind him. He glared at the student whose wooden token was missing. Before he could explain himself, a gust of wind came slashing down from his palm. "You from class 2, I didn't steal your wooden token. How dare you sneak attack me?" When this palm landed, the student was so infuriated that he opened up a map. The collaboration between the 2 classes, which had been built up with much difficulty, was once again on the verge of collapse. Everyone looked at the person beside them, feeling that the other party was trying to snatch their wooden tokens. For a moment, suspicions lingered around the students, causing them to be on tenterhooks. Brilliant. Simply brilliant. Xiao Jin's lips twitched a few times. He knew that Yiqing Luo was black-bellied, but he had never seen such a black-bellied one. Chapter 339. Yiqing Luo's eyes rose as she added a few hints of ridicule. The human heart was originally selfish. Especially for those from high profound class, they were arrogant and had a heart higher than the sky. Other than themselves, they wouldn't believe anyone else. Now that they were grouped together, it was merely to make use of each other, to get what they needed. Yiqing Luo was just teasing her slightly, knowing that her words could possibly be fake. But they couldn't help but believe her words. Because they didn't dare to risk their own honor. What if the students from the other classes really wanted to snatch their wooden tokens? Class 1 and 2 students made a move, and that student from Class 1 called out the entire Class 2. This instantly caused Class 2 to rebound. Even if Yi Qingqian wanted to suppress the current situation, the seeds of suspicion had already sprouted in both parties' hearts and there was no way to maintain the peace on the surface. Yi Qingluo shot a glance at the three people beside her as the arc of her eyes became even more enchanting. Yi Qingqian had been paying attention to Yi Qingluo's actions and on seeing the few of them exchanging glances, her heart suddenly turned cold. Trying to escape from under her nose? Don't even think about it. Yi Qingqian's figure turned illusory as she waved her long whip, like a snake sticking out its scarlet tongue, as it coiled towards the direction of Qiao Jin and the others. A dagger suddenly coiled around that long whip. The long whip quivered as it became taut and straight. On the other end of the long whip, a dagger was coiled around. The one holding the dagger was Yi Qingluo. Her fingers gripped the dagger tightly as she controlled Yi Qingqian's long whip. Both parties were in a deadlock. The aura of an Earth-Profound Realm expert constantly appeared on the whip's body. Wave after wave, through the long whip, through the dagger, striking onto Yi Qingluo's palm which was holding onto the dagger. That strong profound qi had already corroded Yi Qingluo's internal organs at an extremely fast speed. Yi Qingqian apparently didn't expect that there was someone who wasn't afraid of death, attempting to withstand her Earth-Profound Realm's qi, to be in a deadlock with her. Xiao Jin's pupils dilated slightly. He naturally understood that Yi Qingluo had already used her own strength to go against an Earth-Profound Realm, which was a huge risk. If she was slightly careless, there was a possibility of being swallowed by the Earth-Profound Realm's qi. If it was him, he would absolutely not be as decisive as Yi Qingluo. Xiao Jin's eyes were filled with determination as he clenched his fists. Wait for me. After saying these two words, the gold coin darts in his hand flew out like a fairy scattering flowers. While the students were dodging the coin darts, his figure became illusory and he broke through the students' encirclement. Be careful. Don't let him bring away the injured intruder. Yi Qingqian cried out in alarm, attempting to remind the high-profound class students. However, the students of the two classes were now suspicious of each other. He was afraid that when he went to stop the trespasser, the other students would seize the opportunity and snatch his wooden token. Yi Qingqian was exasperated as she tried to retract her whip. But the other end of the long whip was held tightly by Yi Qingluo. Her eyes were covered with a layer of ruthlessness. Her slender fingers suddenly spread open, and a ball of earth-profound light enveloped her entire palm. Yi Qingqian brushed her palm against the long whip, completely releasing the prestige of an earth-profound cultivator. For a moment, the entire training forest was engulfed by strong winds and huge waves. Thick and sturdy trees with luxuriant branches and leaves were rustled by the strong winds. The shadows of the trees danced in the wind as the bright moon in the sky shone through the gap which was opened up, scattering fragmented splendor. The ground started to tremble slightly. The surroundings beneath Yi Qingqian's feet started to crack. All the students who were staring vigilantly at the people around them, started to shift their gazes onto Yi Qingqian. Chapter 340. Yi Qingluo's eyes sunk as an oppressive feeling gushed up her chest as she felt a fishy sweetness in her throat. She forcefully suppressed that oppressive feeling as the dagger in her hand curled around the long whip once more. Following that, she revolved her profound qi to protect her heart. An earth-profound practitioner's power is too strong, student Yi won't be able to hold on for too long, let's end the battle quickly. Xiao Jin saw Yi Qingluo's pair of charming eyes as it was masked with a ball of thick black color. His heart tightened as he speedily rushed towards that cat-beast young lady. Just as he was about to stretch out his hand to grab her, a long sword blocked in front of him. Xiao Jin speedily shot out a gold coin dart as it spun a few rounds and struck heavily on the long sword. Shengwan Fangyi's arm felt numb as his brows creased tightly as he looked at Xiao Jin. You're in the way. Xiao Jin's brows revealed a sliver of impatience as he wasn't willing to waste time on Shengwan Fangyi. Yan Zhenfei, who was still recuperating by the side, gripped her twin blades tightly as she tried to block Qiao Jin's path. But a ghostly voice rang beside her ear, "Your opponent is me." Before she could get up, she was pressed against by a slender figure. The sharp dagger was pressed against Yan Zhenfei's fair neck. This voice made Yan Zhenfei's pupils constrict as an inconceivable expression flashed past her eyes. She speedily reacted as her petite body swiftly retreated a few steps as she turned her head to look at the lady who stuck close to her. When she met Yan Xiaoyi's pair of spirited but chilly eyes, she seemed to have sunk into a trance as the twin blades in her hands dropped onto the ground. The two people guarding the cat-beast young lady were subdued. Tong Ziqing speedily waved her long whip as it rolled up the young lady lying on the ground and pulled her into her arms. Following that, the three of them stopped at the same time as they speedily returned to Yiqing Luo's side. Yiqing Qian's expression was gloomy as she had not expected Yiqing Luo to remain unmoved after she released her earth-profound stage qi. Instead, she restrained her even more. On seeing that young lady being brought away, she cursed in disappointment, "A bunch of trash." Her long whip shook as her profound qi turned into waves as it charged towards Yiqing Luo. But she had not expected Yiqing Luo to suddenly let go of her long whip when she was shaking it. "Retreat." Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, suppressing the sweet fishy feeling in her throat as she opened up her arms, pressing the few people behind her to retreat rapidly. The few of them had just moved when the wave of qi exploded with a loud bang. The place where Yiqing Luo was standing earlier had already turned into a huge black hole. "Shijue." Yiqing Luo shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady in Tong Ziqing's arms and immediately called out. Shiju was currently trapped by Yunxiang, unable to cross Yunxiang to help its master. Its eyes were already scarlet red, losing its patience. Upon hearing Yiqing Luo's call, the scarlet red beast's eyes blinked as it gave off a low growl. The huge body that was trapped swayed, and its huge back was already arched in an attacking posture. Although Yunxiang was summoned here later, he understood the current situation. Those people's goal was to save the injured intruders. If this magical beast met up with the intruders would definitely escape. He waved his palms, and an earth-shattering palm wind pressed down. He absolutely could not allow this mirage beast to leave. The raging wind swept past the trees, and that fragmented moonlight swayed, coupled with Shiju's piercing howl. It seemed extremely strange. Shiju's leopard claws slammed onto the ground as its huge body swiftly leapt up. It didn't hide, but instead it met Yunxiang's palm qi, charging upwards. Chapter 341. That palm qi brought along the momentum of swallowing the mountains and rivers. But the minute it came into contact with Shiju's teeth, that palm qi which had swept up the fallen leaves and caused the surrounding wind to burst out, stopped abruptly. Shiju's teeth were like a sharp blade. When it opened its mouth, it could bite off all life. Yunxiang had not expected this low-leveled mirage beast to have such an ability. After it broke through his condensed palm wind, that huge leopard's head was just inches away. Yunxiang's expression changed greatly as a panic which he had never felt before started to spread from the bottom of his heart. That pair of scarlet-red beast eyes shone with a coquettish brilliance, revealing an impatient murderous intent. Not waiting for Yunxiang to react, that huge leopard's claw stepped on his chest. His internal organs seemed to be squeezed by a heavy object. He fell heavily onto the ground as his white long robe was swiftly covered by the scattered leaves and dust. Shiju stepped on Yunxiang's chest and speedily rushed towards Yiqing Luo, giving off a sharp low roar. "Well done." Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose under the veil as it floated gently onto Shiju's head. Her vision turned towards the back. "Go up." It was the first time for the three of them to see a mirage beast at such a close distance. Even though they knew that this was Yiqing Luo's contracted war pet, but when they saw that leopard's head which was bigger than their entire bodies, staring at them with a pair of scarlet red eyes. Their calves couldn't help but turn into jelly. Mirage Beast Grade War Pet. That was equivalent to an Earth-profound realm cultivator's strength. Yiqing Luo was actually able to contract such a powerful war pet. Quick! Make the best use of the time. Yiqing Luo caressed Shiju's head. Shiju bent its four limbs as it lowered its body, allowing the few of them to climb up. Xiao Jin understood that this wasn't the time to be shocked by the Mirage Beast as he took that young lady from Tong Ziqing's arms and flipped over onto Shiju's back. Yan Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing exchanged glances as they swiftly climbed onto Shiju's back. Trying to leave? How could Yiqing Qian let them leave so easily? The long whip waved over once again as her figure speedily chased up to them. Yiqing Luo had yet to leap onto Shiju's back when Yiqing Qian was already nearing. The long whip swept out in an arc, setting off a strong imposing manner, heading towards Yiqing Luo's face. Coincidentally, Yan Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing had sat down properly and Yiqing Luo forcefully endured the discomfort in her body as her palm struck the ground fiercely and her figure swiftly soared into the sky, landing stably on Shiju's back. This action caused the veil on Yiqing Luo's face to be lifted. When the few of them sat down, Shiju's figure transformed into a bolt of lightning. In an instant, he had already disappeared into the lush forest, disappearing without a trace. The entrance area was in a mess, and many students did not even dare to breathe. The intruder left. With low-level magical beasts as mounts, there was no way they wouldn't be able to catch up to the magical beasts. As for Elder Yun Xiang, he was severely injured by the illusionary beast and did not even have the strength to get up. The powerful qi that swept through the entire entrance gradually stopped. The fallen leaves slowly floated to the ground. And Yiqing Jian, who was originally waving her long whip to chase after him, stood stiffly on the spot. He even forgot to retract his whip. That beautiful face was filled with disbelief. She stared blankly at the direction where Shiju disappeared, as her heart thumped hard and trembled violently. Just now. The moment the veil was lifted, the outline that was vaguely revealed, that slender and fair jaw, rosy pink lips. Especially that pair of soul-stealing eyes. Yiqing Qian's heart seemed to be choked by something, even her breathing became heavy. That red-robed lady, was she Yiqing Luo? How could it be possible? How could she have the ability to enter the heavenly training forest? How could she have the ability? Recalling that low-level Mirage Beast, recalling the scene when Yiqing Luo sat on the high-level Mirage Beast's back, her expression instantly turned pale. Chapter 342. Shiju's speed was extremely fast and in a blink of an eye, it had already brought the few of them out of the secret tunnel. Before they walked out of the secret tunnel, Yiqing Luo called out to Shiju. They had already left the training forest. Shiju's size and its Mirage Beast's aura would easily attract the attention of the other experts in the academy. They had to be careful. After Yiqing Luo and the others got down from Shiju's back, Shiju turned into a palm-sized pet. Yan Xiaoyi stared curiously at that palm-sized Shiju. She couldn't imagine that this was the low-leveled Mirage Beast which had the size of a thick tree. The current Shiju which had shrunk looked like a cat and a dog. Its cuteness was evident. Let's hurry back to the devil class, change our clothes and deal with it. Yiqing Luo scanned the surroundings vigilantly. Walking out of the training forest, this was the academy's turf. If the hidden experts in the academy were to find out about their devil class's matter, what happened in the training forest today would definitely implicate the devil class. Your wound must be treated in time. Let's get Lulu to take a look at it when we return to the devil class. Yan Xiaoyi looked at the wound on Yiqing Luo's arm which had already congealed into a blood scab as her slender brows creased into a bundle. Yiqing Luo's profound grade wasn't high but she was on par with an earth-profound realm cultivator. On the surface, she looked fine but internally, she had suffered a serious internal injury. Xiao Jin single-handedly carried that cat-beast young lady in his arms. Let's go. Devil class, Bei Ming Lu Lu's pharmacy. Yiqing Luo laid on the bed and her arm had been bandaged. Her face was pale without any color of blood. One look and one knew that her injury wasn't light. Bei Ming Lu Lu sat by the bedside and the silver needles in her hands accurately pierced into Yiqing Luo's various acupoints. Her medical skills were brilliant and she was confident that she could restore Yiqing Luo's body back to its original state. But it would take some time. Yiqing Luo's internal organs were all attacked by Yiqing Qian's profound qi. She didn't feel any pain when she contended with Yiqing Qian in the training forest, but the moment she laid down and moved slightly, she felt a heart-wrenching pain. Looking at Yiqing Luo, who was in so much pain that her forehead was drenched in cold sweat, Bei Ming Lu Lu sighed softly. I really don't know what kind of physique you have, your profound grade isn't high, to compete with an earth profound grade cultivator's profound qi. Your internal organs are almost shattered. It was strange. Bei Ming Lu Lu had never seen anyone with Yiqing Luo's physique. If it was an ordinary person, even if it was a profound practitioner of the profound realm, forcibly receiving the profound energy released by a profound practitioner of the earth profound realm would result in their internal organs being shattered and becoming a cripple. In the worst-case scenario, they would be devoured by the profound practitioner of the earth profound realm and disappear from this world. However, Yiqing Luo only suffered an internal injury. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were intact. It was as if something was protecting her internal organs. Yiqing Luo's breathing was slightly unstable as Bei Ming Lu Lu kept pricking her body with needles one after another, causing her body to tremble in pain. Student Yi, you're too reckless. Looking at Yiqing Luo biting her lower lip tightly, sweating profusely in pain but trying her best to suppress the pain, Xiao Jin's tightly knitted brows creased into a bundle. He was at the scene and saw everything clearly. Recalling the scene of Yiqing Luo using the dagger to restrain Yiqing Qian and competing with profound qi, a chill ran down her spine. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as she shook her head. I'm fine. Sure enough, he needed to improve his strength as soon as possible. She needed to find her own profound jade heart as soon as possible. Otherwise, based on her current strength, if she met someone with a higher profound grade, she would be helpless. If it wasn't for the fact that the Azure Dew bracelet had activated its protection mode in time and used the enchantment to protect her internal organs, her injuries would definitely not be just this. Chapter 343. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she revealed a faint smile. She could tell that these people were genuinely concerned about her. I'm really fine. If it wasn't for your help today, I wouldn't be able to bring this lass away so smoothly. Yiqing Luo's brows were tinged with smiles. We're a team and today's coordination was extremely good. Xiao Jin and the others saw her smiling so peacefully as an indescribable gloominess gushed out from their hearts. Student Yi, I hope that in future when you're facing danger, you'll think of us behind you. Tong Ziqing, who was leaning against the door with her arms crossed in front of her chest, putting on a sour face, her icy cold gaze swept past Yiqing Luo. We don't have that kind of leisure to be able to rush to your side in time every single time. Seeing Tong Ziqing's obviously concerned but awkward look, Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Yes, I won't do it in future. Her charming eyes curved into crescents as she smiled, like a bright crescent moon, radiating brilliance. The others looked at her smile and that indescribable gloominess in their hearts slowly dissipated. Not knowing when it started, Yiqing Luo seemed to have become the core in their eyes. Yiqing Luo had obviously joined Devil class for merely half a month, but her position in their hearts was the same as Long Yunzhan. Perhaps it was because when Yiqing Luo first entered Devil class, that confident and resolute gaze, using her own ability to speak boldly, had awed them. Or perhaps it was because every single time Yiqing Luo was able to use her words and her views to convince them. Or perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo obviously looked cold and indifferent, not someone who liked to meddle in other people's business, but towards all the students in the class, she had never been stingy with her help. Especially today, she faced 20 over high profound class students alone, not panicking in the face of danger. Even after they appeared, in order to ensure their safety, she went against Yi Qingqian's actions alone. Their hearts were completely shaken. They asked themselves honestly, if it was them, would they really be able to be so resolute? That's right, where's that young lady? The minute she reached Devil class, she was forcefully brought to Bei Ming Lulu by Xiao Jin, and that young lady was sent somewhere else. The room next door. Tong Ziqing frowned and a trace of impatience flashed across her eyes. I didn't expect student Yi to be so kind. For a girl whom you don't even know, you actually wanted to rescue her from the hands of more than 10 high profound class students. Do you really think that you're a god? Tong Ziqing really couldn't understand why this seemingly cold woman would save someone completely unrelated to her time and time again. Previously, he had helped Anai Rupan, and now, he had saved that strange young girl. Furthermore, both of them were extremely troublesome. Could such a kind person really stand firm in this world in the future? She's not an ordinary person. Yi Qing Luo had no intention to tell them in detail about the matters regarding the Beast Men clan. Old Man Tsang had said that the Beast Men race had already been extinct in the entire Nirvana realm. Even if he said it out loud, these people might not understand and it might even cause panic. She chose an explanation that everyone could accept. Look at the ears on her head and that black tail. She's not a normal human. Xiao Jin and the others already had doubts in their hearts. This was the first time they had seen a person with a pair of cat ears and a cat tail. This was the reason why Yi Qing Luo chose to save that young lady. Chapter 344. Xiao Jin and the rest didn't say anything else. Bei Ming Lulu had already finished her acupuncture and heaved a sigh of relief. Rest for a few days, in less than 5 days, I guarantee you will be back to your previous state. 5 days? Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased as she shook her head slowly. No way, I must go for the freshman training. If I don't go, I'm afraid our actions today will be exposed. In the training forest, when she leapt onto Shiju's back, she seemed to have seen Yi Qingqian's astonished face. Yi Qing Luo wasn't sure if Yi Qingqian had recognized her. If she didn't attend the freshman training at this time and stayed in Devil class, based on Yi Qingqian's character, she would definitely be suspicious. If Yi Qingqian knew that she was the one who saved the young lady in the training forest, she would then trace it back to Devil class. The current Devil class wasn't strong enough to contend against the entire academy. Long Yunzhan must have the same thoughts as her. If the academy knew about Devil classes students' aptitude and forcefully allocated them to the intermediate or low profound classes, and they didn't have the ability to make these students stay, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Before they could confirm, they couldn't take the risk. Just based on your current state, you still want to attend the freshman training? Bei Ming Lulu put down the bottles in her hands as she rolled her eyes at Yi Qing Luo. Don't spoil my reputation as the #1 divine doctor. I'm afraid tomorrow Yi Qingqian will come to the freshman training ground to confirm. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips. She also understood that with her current physical condition, it was impossible for her to complete the freshman training. But if she didn't go, Yi Qingqian would place the suspicion on her. She couldn't risk the entire Devil class. At most we'll let Master Guiyu apply for leave from the instructors. Just say that Master Guiyu is training us trash, and wants you to be a training example. Yen Xiaoyi clapped her hands fiercely. Right, let's do it this way. This will only make Yi Qingqian more suspicious. Yi Qing Luo shook her head as she lowered her head to look at the acupuncture point on her chest and gently breathed out. Is there any way to cover up the whip wound on my arm? Xiao Jin's expression changed. Who cares if she has suspicions, we'll deal with it when the situation calls for it. Earlier you said you won't joke with your life, aren't you playing with your life? I know what I'm doing. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. Lu should have a way to make me get off the bed tomorrow. Baiming Lu slightly raised her eyebrows. She was extremely confident in her medical skills, of course, but it's only limited to getting out of bed. If you participate in the freshman training, even if my ancestor comes back from the dead to heal you, it would still be impossible. Yiqing Luo nodded slightly. As long as I can get off the bed and act like a normal person, that's enough. Move like a normal person. Baiming Lu creased her slender brows. Although your internal organs weren't crushed by Yiqing Qian's profound qi, but you're more or less injured, and the moment you move, you'll feel pain. It's a little difficult to move like a normal person. It's nothing. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards. It was just pain, she could bear with it. In the past, she had endured all kinds of hardships, tiredness, and pain. Even if someone were to take a knife and cut her flesh, she would not make a sound. Chapter 345. Based on Yiqing Qian's character, if she had any suspicions today, she would definitely not be able to sleep at night. Tomorrow morning, she would be waiting at the training grounds to test if I'm injured. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as a cold arc flashed past. If I were to go to the training grounds safely and let her see it with her own eyes, it would dispel her suspicions. Then, just like what Xiao Yi said earlier, before the training starts, let Teacher Yu bring me away in front of her and everything will fall into place naturally. Yiqing Qian's character was to only believe what she saw with her own eyes. As long as she could prove that she was not injured and safe in front of Yiqing Qian. No matter how much suspicions Yiqing Qian had, she would not be so sure. And Yu's character had always been to do as he pleased, even if it was in front of the instructors. Forcefully bringing her away was a very normal thing. The few of them looked at each other. Yiqing Luo's method was not impossible. But did Baiming Lu really have a way to let Yiqing Luo act like a normal person tomorrow? Qing, Madam Qing Luo. A weak voice was heard from the door as Xiaofan stood at the door. If Yiqing Qian doesn't believe me, what should we do? Yiqing Luo spread out her hands and shrugged. If she doesn't believe me and wants to test me, I will give a signal for Teacher Yu to bring me away in advance. Yiqing Qian doesn't have the guts to go against Teacher Yu. She had already thought of an escape route. Let's follow Student Ye's method. A figure dressed in a blue robe walked in slowly from behind Xiaofan. Class monitor. The few of them stood up and greeted Long Yunzhan. Long Yunzhan nodded his head as his calm gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo. After some time, he flipped his palm and a jade bottle appeared in his palm. This is the actual combat training's reward. Congratulations, first place. Although Long Yunzhan was congratulating her, but his tone didn't have any undulations. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned as she looked at the jade bottle which Long Yunzhan passed over. First place. My points have not changed since the beginning, how could I possibly be first place? She spent the entire day with Xiaofan and the magical beast points were all used to give Xiaofan actual combat experience. Her wooden token had always been 30 points. After that, he barged into the High Profound zone and met the students from the High Profound class. How could he get first place? You have 106 points in total. Long Yunzhan's vision swept past Tong Ziqing who was leaning against the door with a sour face, and immediately returned to Yiqing Luo. This is your reward, 106 points. Oh my god. So many? Yiqing Luo's charming eyes suddenly flashed, as though she understood something, as she looked straight at Tong Ziqing. You've given all your points to me? Tong Ziqing snorted coldly. 30 points are the initial points. Under your guidance, Xiaofan has gained 14 points. Take the remaining points as a gift from me. With that, she turned around with a proud look on her face and left the pharmacy. How willful. What happened to the strong desire to win? Was it really a good idea to give her the first place just like that? Madam Qing Luo, actually Vice Class Monitor, and the rest will rush over to the high profound zone to look for you. It's all thanks to Sister Zi Qing, she's actually very concerned about you. Ni Ruopan looked at Tong Zi Qing's departing figure, worried that Yi Qing Luo would get angry, so she hurriedly explained for Tong Zi Qing. She originally didn't like Tong Zi Qing's character. She only felt that Tong Zi Qing was too overbearing, using her power to bully others. Usually the one who led the bullying was Tong Zi Qing. Chapter 346. Ni Rupan could no longer hate Tong Ziqing for what she did. From Ni Ruopan's mouth, Yi Qing Luo then found out that Xiao Jin and the others were able to rush over to the high profound class in such a timely manner and specially prepared their red robes and masks, was all thanks to Tong Ziqing. From the moment they entered the heavenly training forest, Tong Ziqing went straight in, looking for magical beasts to accumulate points. It was Ni Rupan's first time in the training forest, so her physique was far from Tong Ziqing's. She could not keep up with Tong Ziqing's pace. He was thoroughly humiliated by Tong Ziqing. Tong Ziqing directly pushed the battered Ni Rupan to the side when they were killing the demonic beasts. She then scolded the wretched Ni Rupan for not being a hindrance since she was a good-for-nothing. Ni Ruopan's pride was insulted as he left Tong Ziqing and walked back to the entrance to wait for Yi Qing Luo. Following that, under Yi Qing Luo's guidance, they killed magical beasts one after another. While Tong Ziqing was accumulating points, she suddenly discovered that the points on the wooden tablet had mysteriously increased. She felt that it was strange, thinking that there was something wrong with the wooden tablet. To prevent the class leader from accusing her of cheating, Tong Ziqing specifically found Xiao Jin and explained the situation. Xiao Jin guessed that Ni Rupan killed the demonic beasts to accumulate points for her team. Tong Ziqing could not believe that Ni Rupan, who was so useless that she would gasp for breath after running a few steps, could actually kill a demonic beast. His points were still increasing at an average rate. How could this be? Hence, Tong Ziqing, Yan Xiaoyi and the others followed the location indicated by the wooden token and found Ni Ruopan, who was hugging Yi Qing Luo's uniform and sprinting with all his might. After knowing that Yi Qing Luo had a conflict with the high profound class students, Tong Ziqing immediately rushed over to the high profound zone. I know. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but chuckled after she heard the entire sequence of events. Her existence made Tong Ziqing feel threatened. Since Tong Ziqing had feelings for Long Yunzhan, it was only natural that she would target him previously. She knew that Tong Ziqing had wholeheartedly agreed with what she said in the class committee room. It was just that she was unable to lower her pride to ask for peace with Yi Qing Luo. Such a proud and awkward little girl was quite cute. Also, Ni Rupan glanced at Yan Xiaoyi from the corner of her eye, then she lowered her voice and said, I'm afraid classmate Yan has been recognized too. What do you mean? Ni Ruopan licked her dry lips. High profound classes Yan Zhenfei is student Yan's elder sister from the same father and mother. Yan Zhenfei's innate talent has been strong since young and was admitted into Heavenly Academy at a young age. In just 1 year, she passed the semi-annual class promotion test and entered High Profound Class 2. Hearing this, Yi Qing Luo roughly understood what Ni Ruopan was trying to express. These students in Devil class were all trash in the past and Yan Xiaoyi was no exception. Her talent was not as good as her sister's, and she had been living under her sister's brilliance since she was young. Everyone could only see Yan Zhenfei but not Yan Xiaoyi. Hearing Ni Ruopan's concise and comprehensive description of Yan Xiaoyi and Yan Zhenfei's relationship, Yi Qing Luo recalled that she and Yi Qing Qian were once like this. However, her unexpected arrival had changed the fate of this body. But Yan Xiaoyi was different. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes as she stared at Yan Xiaoyi with interest. She didn't believe that Yan Xiaoyi would obediently live outside of Yan Zhenfei's halo. Based on Yan Xiaoyi's character, she would absolutely not allow herself to be at a disadvantage. Behind this halo, it was hard to say who was in charge. Chapter 347. Ever since Xiaofan entered Devil class, she had been extremely cautious. To integrate into Devil class, the first thing was to understand the students in Devil class. She was most proud of her memory. Because of this, she had memorized the information and hobbies of the people in her class. Towards Yan Xiaoyi, she had some understanding. No worries, it's the end of the month holiday in a few days. By then, I will think of a way to dispel Yan Zhenfei's suspicions. Yan Xiaoyi waved her hand indifferently, totally not putting Yan Zhenfei in her eyes. When she first came to Devil class, her motive was to work together with Long Yunzhan, to lead the Devil class until they could contend against the High Profound class, then participate in the school's competition. Ruthlessly slapping Yan Zhenfei's face, ruthlessly stepping on the pride of the Yan family. Even if Yan Zhenfei knew in advance, so what if Yan Zhenfei recognized her? What could Yan Zhenfei do to her? Ah, that's right, it's almost the end of the month, the school will have a 3-day holiday. Bei Ming Lulu's eyes lit up. In this case, student Yi, you can no longer participate in the training. Holiday? Yiqing Luo then recalled that it was indeed written in the booklet that the school would have a holiday on the last 3 days of every month. No matter if it was a master or a student, they had to leave the school. This was the school's tradition and rule. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk as her slender brows creased slightly. A holiday was much more troublesome than staying in the school. In the school, she could still make use of Guiyu to cover up her injury. But if she returned to the Yi family, Yiqing Qian had borrowed the power of the dark forces and had just advanced to the Earth Profound stage. If she returned to the Yi family, she would not be able to live peacefully. Looked like. After hiding in the school for the past few days, she would have to hide for the 3 days of holiday. With Lulu treating you, by the time the holiday arrives, your body should have recovered by 70 to 80%. Xiao Jin leaned by the side as his brows rose slightly. Based on your ability, when you return to Three Springs Sect, Yiqing Qian won't be able to gain any advantage from you. Bei Ming Lulu nodded. If student Yi cooperates, she will indeed be able to recover by 70 to 80%. Looking at these people, Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with warmth. Everyone in the Devil class treats you as one of the team members and is very concerned about you. So, I hope today's incident will not happen again. Long Yunzhan, who had been silent, opened his mouth faintly. He stood by the bed, his gaze indifferent and his expression indifferent. Only that pair of rippling blue eyes gazed intently at Yiqing Luo, revealing some seriousness. Yiqing Luo met that pair of blue eyes and was slightly stunned. She suddenly recalled that day, the conversation between him and Chi-Chi, and her heart suddenly trembled. There were so many people in the pharmacy. Yiqing Luo resisted the urge to ask him about Chi-Chi's whereabouts and his relationship with Chi-Chi, nodded her head and responded yes. Today's actual combat training, you were almost discovered by the High Profound class and caused such a huge commotion. It's your fault. After you recover from your injuries, you will be responsible for the cleanliness of the Devil class for 7 days as a warning to others. Class Monitor. Xiao Jin opened his mouth, trying to plead for Yiqing Luo. Long Yunzhan casually glanced at Xiao Jin. His expressionless face and eyes were as calm as water, adding a bit of indifference to his whole person. Xiao Jin immediately fell silent. This is indeed my fault. I am willing to accept the punishment. When she did the action of going out to save that young lady, Yiqing Luo had already guessed that this action of hers had already violated the Devil class's rules. Long Yunzhan's punishment wasn't considered heavy, and it was only on the surface, to warn the other students. Long Yunzhan didn't say a word, as he remained silent as when he came, as he calmly turned around and left the pharmacy. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as she stared at Long Yunzhan's back view. He wasn't going to tell her where Qi was? Chapter 348. That night, in order to prevent Yiqing Qian from hesitating and purposely waiting for her in the dormitory to see if she was injured, Yiqing Luo got off the bed after pulling out the silver needles. Just like what Bei Ming Lu had said, the moment she moved, her internal organs would be affected and there would be bursts of throbbing pain. Yiqing Luo endured the pain and wore her uniform neatly. After looking at her in the mirror for a while, apart from her pale complexion, she didn't seem to be out of the ordinary. Holding the painkillers that Bei Ming Lu had prescribed for her, she had just walked out of the devil class when she saw Lu Xiaoyu standing at the entrance of the devil class, waiting anxiously for her. Qing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu saw her and immediately went forward. Her eyes were filled with worry as she stared at Yiqing Luo from head to toe. She wanted to support Yiqing Luo but didn't dare to touch her. Vice Class Monitor asked you to come over? One look at Lu Xiaoyu's expression and she knew that she was specially waiting for her. Lu Xiaoyu nodded, her bright eyes were already filled with tears. He said you had suffered a serious internal injury but you can't let the other students know, so he asked me to fetch you. Xiao Jin was considerate. Her current condition indeed made it impossible for her to return to the dormitory normally. With Lu Xiaoyu around, at least she had the strength to support herself. Yiqing Luo didn't say what had happened, so Lu Xiaoyu naturally wouldn't ask. Lu Xiaoyu was an intelligent girl and knew the reason why Xiao Jin specially asked her to fetch Yiqing Luo. She was like usual, holding Yiqing Luo's arm with one hand, her face revealing the same smile as usual. In fact, Lu Xiaoyu's position could support most of Yiqing Luo's strength. On the way back to the dormitory, Lu Xiaoyu kept on chattering about the intermediate profound class, talking about the things that the masters had taught her recently. Yiqing Luo occasionally responded. From Yiqing Luo's increasingly heavy body, Lu Xiaoyu could feel that Yiqing Luo's body couldn't take it anymore. Finally returning to the dormitory, she had just opened the door when she saw Lu Xiaoyu sitting there asking around, her eyes staring straight at Yiqing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu's expression congealed as she slightly straightened her back, giving Yiqing Luo a strong support. Qing Luo, the instructor said that today's training will add a new exercise, let's rest early today. Lu Xiaoyu said as she held her arm and only released her when they reached Yiqing Luo's door. Behind him, Lu Xiaoyu sneered, why does it look like student Yi is struggling to walk? Yiqing Luo's heart trembled fiercely. As expected. Yiqing Qian recognized her. When she leapt onto Shiju's back, half of her veil was lifted by Yiqing Qian's whip, allowing Yiqing Qian to see it. But, she didn't expect that Lu Xiaoyu would still be in contact with Yiqing Qian after the violation of the Academy's rules, and even came to test her on behalf of Yiqing Qian. Yiqing Luo chuckled lightly as she glanced sideways and sneered, if the former vice president has the time to pay attention to me, why don't you think about how to get back your position? If you lose the faculty council member status, you won't be able to see your dear president anymore. Yiqing Luo chuckled. With just a few words, he poked at the sore spot in Lu Xiaoyu's heart. You. Lu Xiaoyu slammed the table and stood up, her cold and elegant face immediately showed anger. However, Yiqing Luo didn't bother about her as she opened the door and walked into the room. Chapter 349. Yiqing Luo had just closed the room door and that forcefully supporting body leaned against the door as she panted heavily. But when she smelled that familiar sandalwood scent in the room, she was completely stunned. She immediately raised her eyes and saw a tall figure standing in the middle of the room. He was dressed in a purple robe, and the ink was loose on his shoulders. That peerless talent, usually filled with smiles whenever he saw her, was expressionless. That pair of gleaming peach blossom eyes were sinister and treacherous, revealing a few hints of danger. This gaze made one's back go cold. Yiqing Luo's body suddenly tensed up. She had never seen this expression from Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian had never revealed such an expression in front of her before. Her heart trembled fiercely. Dmo Xian knew what happened to her today. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, suppressing the intense beating of her heart. She had just opened her mouth to speak a word when she softened her tone, a Xian. Dmo Xian wasn't like usual. When he heard Yiqing Luo's intimate call, he beamed with joy as he went forward to embrace her into his arms. He stood on the same spot, filled with viciousness, his thin lips pulled, forming a frosty arc. Lil Luo, really enjoyed herself today, so much that you can't even stand properly now? That voice seemed to be wrapped in frost, making one shudder. Yiqing Luo was in the wrong. She had caused herself to be seriously injured, making Dmo Xian worried. It was her fault. Seeing Dmo Xian's viciousness getting thicker, Yiqing Luo's pink lips pouted, her eyes were stained with tears. As she looked at Dmo Xian pitifully, her voice was sweet and coquettish. Xian, I'm in pain. That tone was one which Yiqing Luo had never used before. It was a little aggrieved, a little choked. Oh? You also know pain? Dmo Xian's obsidian-like destructive eyes was biting cold, as he sneered. Yiqing Luo bit her lower lip, as her eyelashes were stained with tears. I'm in pain, so in pain. I need a Xian's kiss and hug to stop the pain. This method of acting coquettishly was unparalleled. Dmo Xian's face, which seemed to be sealed in ice, started to show some cracks. Yiqing Luo had been paying close attention to Dmo Xian's expression, and seeing that acting coquettishly worked, she might as well throw away her moral integrity and coquettishly said, Ah Xian, I'm in so much pain that I don't have any energy, carry me. Dmo Xian's face was still cold, but he still walked over and hugged Yiqing Luo's waist in his arms. His movements were fast, but extremely light. Yiqing Luo almost didn't feel the pain from her body when she fell into the man's arms. That elegant sandalwood fragrance lingered around her nose, and Yiqing Luo's heart, which had been hanging in suspense, gradually calmed down. Dmo Xian carried her all the way to the bedside. Just as he was about to put her down, Yiqing Luo's slender fingers suddenly grabbed onto his robe. That uninjured arm circled around Dmo Xian's neck, encircling him. The girl's sweet and exquisite face came close to Dmo Xian's eyes. With the fragrance of a young lady, Yiqing Luo's pink lips pressed onto Dmo Xian's. Her actions were a little careful, but also a little fawning. After a peck, Yiqing Luo moved her lips away as she buried her head into the man's chest. Ah Xian, I didn't intentionally let myself get hurt. My plan was to coordinate with Shiju to save that young lady without any harm at all, but I'd not expected Yiqing Luo to have broken through to Earth profound grade. Dmo Xian didn't say a word, and towards Yiqing Luo's kiss, he didn't turn passivity into initiative like in the past. It could be seen how angry he was right now. Chapter 350. After acting coquettishly, she also fawned on her. Yiqing Luo felt that she had already thrown away her moral integrity. That young lady was from the Nirvana realm's secret beast race. Saving her might allow her to form a contract with her, to open up her bloodline. If the young lady wasn't willing to form a contract with her, then she would have another beast race friend. To Yiqing Luo, there were only benefits and no disadvantages. Under such circumstances, she would naturally be fully prepared before she stepped forward to save her. Initially, when she took a liking to Shiju, what attracted her the most was Shiju's speed. If she wasn't able to save her and the situation changed, she could totally ride on Shiju and leave swiftly. Furthermore, she had the secret art of teleportation on her. If she sensed that something was amiss, she would be able to protect herself by displaying her teleportation. Because of this, she dared to use her own strength to go against 10 over high profound class students. But no matter how she calculated, she hadn't calculated that Yiqing Qian had broken through to Earth's profound realm, nor had she calculated that Xiao Jin and the rest would rush over to help her. Escape route? This is your escape route? Dmo Xian scoffed lightly as his fingers suddenly moved and easily undid Yiqing Luo's waist seal. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened. His fingers parted her uniform, his fingertips faintly brushing against her skin, causing her to shudder. Yiqing Luo's breathing suddenly stopped, not understanding what Dmo Xian's actions meant. Yiqing Luo's clothes were already half opened, revealing the fair skin on her left shoulder. Dmo Xian's fingers slid down and revealed her entire arm. Her arm was wrapped with a layer of medicinal powder, but it still couldn't hide the blood scab from the whip, which was extremely conspicuous. Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes squinted slightly as his fingers suddenly pressed on her wound. Hiss. Yiqing Luo sucked in a breath of cold air in pain as her body kept on shrinking backwards. That finger which was pressing on the wound, on hearing her cries of pain, couldn't bear to loosen his strength. Immediately after, a cool feeling was emitted from Dmo Xian's fingertips. That cool feeling, after it had passed through the wound, the pain from Dmo Xian's pressure disappeared. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes guiltily as she softly called out Dmo Xian's name. I'm sorry, I know you're angry with me, I promise there won't be a next time, alright? Dmo Xian remained silent as he calmly took out a jade bottle from his netherworld dragon ring and changed her dressing. His expression was ice cold, and his eyebrows were calm. However, his actions were extremely gentle. As though Yiqing Luo was his treasure. He held it in his mouth, afraid that it would melt, and held it in his palm, afraid that it would fall. His cautiousness made Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly warm up as her nose turned sour. In front of others, she was confident, insolent, and arrogant. Only in front of Dmo Xian, she was like a little woman. Even if a knife was pressed against her neck, she would not show the slightest bit of fear or the feeling of wanting to cry. But this man gently helped her apply medicine, which made her so touched that she wanted to cry. Even more than that, she was filled with guilt. I know, the current me, is no longer alone. Devil class's companions are very important, but you, are even more important. Yiqing Luo's curly long lashes fluttered as she gazed deeply at the handsome face which was just inches away from her. I've made you worried, I'm sorry. The wound on her shoulder had been bandaged again. Bursts of cool feeling drowned out that pain. Dmo Xian's slender fingers hooked onto Yiqing Luo's clothes as he gently and slowly helped her put it on. Chapter 351. Dmo Xian's voice was filled with suppressed pain. He stretched out his hand and hugged Yiqing Luo's petite body. Light and slow, incomparably gentle. He didn't dare to use force, afraid that if he did, the person in his arms would be in pain. Slowly embracing Yiqing Luo into his arms, Dmo Xian's head, buried in her neck. The man's warm breath, sprayed on her skin. Like a ball of fire, burning her. Perhaps it was because his action was very light, or perhaps it was the effect of the medicine he applied, Yiqing Luo totally didn't feel any pain. Even the internal injuries suffered in her internal organs, didn't cause any pain because of the slight movement of her body. I'm angry at myself, will let you get hurt. The man's voice in her neck, was very low, indistinctly a little unclear. But it wasn't hard to hear, his tone, vaguely, I should protect you. Should protect you completely. His words, word by word, were like a warm current, flowing into Yiqing Luo's heart. Her brows overflowed with some tenderness, her charming eyes were filled with warmth. It's not your fault, don't blame yourself, I will feel terrible. Dmo Xian's head, slowly lifted up from her neck. That pair of glistening peach blossom eyes, reflected Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up, smiling like a flower. Exquisite peerless looks, at this moment, seemed to cover up all the beauty in the world. Four pairs of eyes met, there was only each other in their eyes. I know you care about me, and want to protect me forever. Yiqing Luo's voice was as gentle as a feather, yet filled with seriousness and determination. But Xian, I want to grow, want to become someone who can stand by your side, who can protect you. I'm not a woman who hides under a man's wings, relying on a man to survive. I don't want to not only be protected by you, I also want to protect you. Love was not a matter of one person, but a matter of two people. It was originally mutual equality. Stick to each other, protect each other. Dmo Xian was strong, but it didn't mean that she only needed to enjoy Dmo Xian's strength, to contribute for her. What she wanted to do, was to stand by Dmo Xian's side, like how he protected her, to protect her. Dmo Xian wasn't willing to see her get hurt and fall into danger. Was she willing to see Dmo Xian fall into danger for her? This time, I was careless and overconfident. I admit my mistake. Yiqing Luo stretched out her uninjured hand and her fair palm caressed Dmo Xian's face. My Xian dotes on me, cares about me and will absolutely not stop me from growing up, right? The woman's eyes were resolute and the expression on her face was not as cold and proud as before. Instead, it was like a pool of warm water, gently wrapping around Dmo Xian's heart. Dmo Xian's heart was violently shaken. These words, Yiqing Luo had told him before. However, each time, he was shaken in a different way. This was the woman he fancied, the most unique woman in this world. He had always been at the top, respected and feared by tens of thousands. But only Yiqing Luo didn't care about his identity, didn't care about his power, and only treated him as an ordinary man. She would not ask for his protection, nor would she hide behind his back. She would take things as they came and enjoy a lifetime of peace. She said that she wanted to walk side by side with him, to protect him. This was the first time someone said that she wanted to protect him. And it was a woman. Dmo Xian could deeply feel that Yiqing Luo treasured him. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.